I don't reckon Brisbane play finals football through the home and away series, and all of a sudden, we're in the finals, we've got to switch on some sort of defensive mechanism that will allow us to score but also keep the opposition down. And yes, we're going to get the best opposition, so therefore the best thinks through and they go, we're going to sit on Neil. What do? I don't reckon they've done any homework over the last 5 years and changed anything up that suggests to me that they are a threat to the final simply because of that mechanism itself.
I thought perhaps the elevation of McCluggage to a new level and Rayner into the midfield and a boost from him might cover a couple of those little things. But last night I just saw Neil's not there. No Brisbane.
Is that mechanism you're talking about, is that a reflection on Chris Fagan and the coaching?
Or personnel?
I think it's more the fact that you can only do what you can with personnel. And if you don't have a side that can run through that, then you're going to have to do with what you've got and maybe blast sides out of the ballpark to win games. Like, they've beat out of those 6 they've lost, a couple of them have been by under a goal. So you'd almost say that's bad luck more than anything else. But I still maintain that you go into a finals match with your best player having to be the best player. You've got to have other players step up. Now, they lost Lyons, I believe, from last night, so I don't know how long they've lost him for. They also lost Bailey, which is a very, very important player to them. But I'll say this again, Andrews on the back line makes the right decisions occasionally. Sometimes he doesn't, and that's not good enough for finals football. Up the other end, Danaher and Hipwood together have got to show more Hawkins, Cameron, Curnow, Mackay type of, I suppose, camaraderie, maybe union, maybe link, because at the moment they're playing all over the shop and they don't even know they're on the ground together.
Put us in the mind of Chris Fagan, because he did a television interview before the game. So it's going to be a good test for us to see how we go, the physical side of it, and how we go against a team like Melbourne. Now, they got smashed in that element. Yeah. Melbourne absolutely hammered them in the contested possession. So Chris Fagan does the post-match press conference and says, that's almost as bad as what we were 3 or 4 years ago when I first arrived at the club. You know, the unpredictable results in terms of what we get and what we deliver. They play Melbourne again in round 23. So how mindful do you have to be when you're a coach and you're playing a big game like that? That's a reality check for not only the team but also the outside world, but you have to still instill some confidence in your players that we can fix this between now and then.
Well, I don't want to jump in front of Linger here, but you've got to let's look at the last 4 or 5 premiers and perhaps even the runners-up and go, what is singly the most important reason why they won and the other side lost? Is it contested football? And you'll generally find in AFL finals, it's something to do with that. It's whether the side does tackle or doesn't tackle, choose to not, go and get the hard football, get numbers around the ball, chase out, so therefore they haven't got any free runners running through the corridor inside their front 50. There's a whole host of little bits and pieces, but if you don't nail those simple ones that I just said, they sound simple, but they take guts and determination and a willingness, then you can forget finals. Finals is not played by ball out of the centre goal, and all of a sudden it's not Richmond Carlton of 1972 where there was 50 goals scored.
So you're really worried about them, the style they play?
I've been worried for 3 or 4 years because I don't know whether that personnel is consistent with wanting to play finals football during the home and away game. That's not Fagan. That's simply, are the players equipped to do that? And do they want to do it?
I don't think there's a 60-point gap between the first and the second team, but yet that's what we saw last night, Lee.
Yeah, because they got destroyed in those fundamentals of the game. I would, if I'm Chris Fagan, I would give that group that you've trusted, that you've built, and you've been to finals with, a chance to respond. But they're probably only going to get one chance to respond. So if now they fix up that area of the game next week and they're back, and maybe for some ridiculous reason they needed this little kick along. Don't know why you would going into a 1v2 clash, but let's give them that little, because they've built up a little bit of trust with the coach. Give them that chance to respond, and this is the reset they needed, and they start playing great football, then fantastic. You back that personnel in because you've reset them, and this game in a weird way has helped you reset that. But if they don't respond, then as a coach you start questioning opportunities for others. Okay, can I trust? Well, of course you know you can trust Lockie Neal, McCluggage, these types of players. You want Rayner in there for everything he does. Hipwood, Danaher, Charlie Cameron, McStay.
I think that's the one. Can you play the three tall forwards?
So you need to ask yourself, do I want that going into a final?
And Fagan points a lot to their record last year. I think they were 11-1 when they played together. They've only ever lost, I think, 3 times that they've all played, the 3 of them up front, and he keeps pointing to the fact they have a really good record, and last night it obviously didn't translate for them. We were expecting, obviously, given how much it was hyped leading in, all the top 8 playing each other, the bottom 10 playing one another, that it was going to be this close, even, spectacular round of footy, and I don't think anyone was forecasting 64 points either way last night, and that's what we got first up. So fingers crossed the rest of the weekend is a little closer. The Western Bulldogs and Hawthorn coming up tonight. We're awaiting the arrival of both teams, but the news story of the day is, again, Jordan De Goey. It feels like the story that just never ends at the moment. He spoke with the club's website, and Nadine Rabar was firing a few questions at Jordan De Goey in his home earlier this morning.
Jordan, I understand you wanted to talk.
Yeah, I do. This week's obviously weighed pretty heavily on me, and I thought I'd just wait until I've got a clear mind to come out and apologise for my actions and my behaviours. I don't condone that behaviour at all, and I've got a lot of work moving forward.
What's your message to the footy community and to those at the club and the women at the club?
Well, firstly, I do want to come out and say I definitely am sorry for that. I've got a lot of important women in my life, and I understand you need to show respect to women at all times. I've got a responsibility to the wider community, and I need to keep working towards that. And,
in terms of your work this year, did you want to touch on your first part of the season?
Yeah, I do. Obviously, you've probably seen with the ADHD stuff which came out. First of all, I just want to say that's not an excuse for my behaviour at all. I just wanted to let people know that I was dealing with some stuff on the side throughout the first half of this year and also now. It's something I'm learning a lot about, and I'm not a perfect person. I don't think I ever will be, but hopefully I can make some changes so these mistakes don't happen again. And just on that, I would like to apologise once again.
So that was Jordan De Goey speaking to the club's website a little earlier today. Now, Craig McRae was fronting questions about Jordan De Goey, of course, at his weekly press conference a little earlier today.
Has he been in a good space?
No, I wouldn't have thought so. I try to keep in contact with him daily, and I did that yesterday. I didn't hear back from him.
So he went on to say he's hopeful that he does come back to the club, and said he wants to give him a big cuddle when he steps through the door, but hasn't been in contact with him and had the chance to chat with him recently. So the dialogue's also broken down between De Goey and his senior coach.
A lot of words have been spoken since this came to light, a bit over a week ago. Lots of words from media people, lots of words from the community, lots of words from the AFL, from Collingwood, now from Jordan, and we've had different statements from Jordan. I don't really care that much about what he has to say now. For me, it's about sustained actions from here. And even this concept that, if he can really finish the year off well and, get his behaviours right for the rest of the year, it'll show how much. Changing your behaviours for 3 or 4 months doesn't mean you've changed and you've made the positive steps forward. I want to see this for years.
He didn't look at all comfortable in that video today, and the fact that it's had to take till Friday to get that to happen, I mean, the way the club was speaking on Wednesday or Tuesday, it looks like they were hoping it was going to happen earlier in the week. He's not back at training now. He's on indefinite personal leave.
And the media's been at Collingwood every day waiting for him to arrive, so there's nowhere to hide.
It just feels like a story that, and I know his manager's been criticised a lot in all of this, which I understand is his brother-in-law, but it feels like from a PR exercise, it hasn't been handled at all well.
No, it hasn't. Not at all. Crisis management, however you want to call it, it has been a really D-grade example of how to handle something. He shouldn't have gone in the first place. That's number one. Number two, he shouldn't have behaved like that when he did go over there, when he was shown the trust by his football club and his football coach saying, okay, we believe that you've learnt. We believe that you got the kick up the backside from New York. I'm going to show some trust in you. So he shouldn't have behaved like that. But I only care about how he responds now with his actions and for a sustained period of time. We went through this with, I shouldn't say that. We went through a situation with Steve Johnson where his off-field behaviour was affecting his ability to play good football on field and was breaking down the trust that we had with him as a teammate. Now, we said to Steve, go away from the club. He was banned from the club for about 3 months, wasn't allowed to train there, missed 5 games of football, all that. That's been well documented. But we said it's not about his behaviour changes in those 3 months that he was banned from the club. It's about a long-term, sustained behavioural change is all we care about.
So as captain, how much contact would you have with him during that period where he wasn't at the club?
I was vice-captain at the time, but Tom was captain, so both of us in those leadership positions, it was constant. We had some wonderful assistant coaches who put their hand up to train with him at 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock at night, because he wasn't allowed at the club during 8 a.m. until about 5 p.m. Our footballing hours. He had to do it outside those hours. So we kept a connection with him. We made the commitment that we were going to help him on this journey. But ultimately, he had to be the one who changed his behaviours. He had to become a professional footballer that could be trusted.
And I think, and that's it. I mean, he's 26 years old now, Jordan De Goey. He should be coming into the biggest contract of his life in free agency. It's clearly not going to be that. And it's been pointed out during the week. He's talked a lot about, feeling persecuted by the media. He doesn't have to do this. If it's too much for him and he doesn't want to be in the environment, he doesn't have to be an AFL footballer. And there's an enormous privilege that comes with getting the opportunity to play AFL footy. You collect a lot of money. Part of the money is also ambassador money to represent the game. If he feels like that's too much, go and do something else if that makes him a little more happier than being involved in this industry.
And the other part is it detrimental to what Collingwood's trying to build? Do they get to the stage where they go, we just don't know what we're going to get with him on field, we know, but off field, this is becoming an issue to our whole group. How much contact, Mick, would you have with the likes of a Dane Swan when he was going through those periods where the media spotlight was firmly focused on him?
Well, we made a decision that with Swanee, I said to him, mate, you've got redhead mates, and they will be your mates dragging you back to their level. It's a very simple decision. You move. Rats don't move any more than 1 or 2 suburbs at best, and he moved 3 suburbs, or 2 or 3 suburbs, and he got away and was able to focus in on being what he is, a very good footballer. He's still got his own personality, but he realised that I think his mum and dad were pretty happy about it as well. So, look, getting back to De Goey, we know that this is 3 times at the very least, and he is old enough, and the thing is, I admire Craig McRae for what he's trying to do, is to create an environment where rules are created by common sense and you adhere to the rules, but you are an adult. And I have no fear to say that after the American episode, he would have taken on board and said, right, what an opportunity here. This is a choice, for the whole group. De Goey decided to go to Bali. I mean, in all honesty, I think that's probably stretching the faith a little bit, and of course it's opened up Pandora's box. Now, I'm with Lingy. It's not a matter of can he be good between now and the end of the year, but when do you wait for the next blow up? Do you cut your ties and go? Now, I'm not saying one way or the other, but these are the alternatives. You cut the ties and say, okay, we know we're going to get a first-round pick, and maybe that plus a player. We may be able to move that or not have that to worry about. And if another club picks it up and it turns out that he's woken up to himself, maybe that's the thing. But don't, Collingwood, whatever they do, they either got to get a player that's going to turn around and be what they want, or get a player through that. So there's a I don't think this is settled by a long shot.
And a huge game for Collingwood to come on Sunday. With all of that as the backdrop, they could be playing for a spot in the top 8 against the Giants Sunday at the MCG. Jordan De Goey obviously won't be there. This is Grandstand AFL. Mick Moldhouse and Cameron Ling, Corbin Middlemass and Matt Clinch calling the footy. Now, the 5th member of our team on the boundary is one of the best newsbreakers in footy. And another little bomb earlier today with the key forward for the Hawthorn Football Club signing a new contract to stay with the club. His name is Mitch Cleary. He joins us on the boundary. Massai, what have you got for us?
Good evening, guys. Yeah, that news you refer to, Corbin. Mitch Lewis signing a new 4-year deal. Did have a lot of interest from rival clubs. Essendon, Collingwood are all clubs looking for a key forward, but he is staying put. It's a big signature for the Hawthorn Footy Club. Just in the last week, there's also been a change at the top coming at the Hawks. We know Jeff Kennett is handing over the baton as president. There'd been a long-running process put in place at the start of this year. A nominations committee, an independent nominations committee, was formed by the Hawthorn Footy Club. Now, that nominations committee was out to find Jeff's successor, they didn't come up with a name, so the man running that committee, Peter Nankervis, is actually going to take the reins as president. It's a bit of a farcical process. That's been the words used by the Hawks for Change group that had been long running for, long pushing for change at the top of the Hawks.
Hang on, Mitch. So the guy running the process is going to be the next president?
Yeah, so they set out with a list of around 20 or 30 names, thinking that they might be able to find Jeff's successor. None of those they felt could do the job, so the man running that process is going to take the reins. So the Hawks for Change group has been a vocal group. Gary Ayres, Peter Schwab have been names linked to that group. Had a big outcry in terms of the need for change at the Hawks. That group has issued a long statement today using the words farcical and the like to compare and talk about this issue. So I don't think this is the last we're going to hear of it. Peter Nankervis, though, has been the man, chosen at this stage as the incumbent Hawthorn president.
So is your understanding, Mitch, that no one else wanted to put their name forward? Or is this more of a Grant Thomas where he's done this and all of a sudden discovered, hang on, maybe I'm the best candidate. Maybe I should be putting my hand up.
Well, that's a good question, Clinchy. The club is saying they couldn't find the right replacement and they landed in the hands of Peter Nankervis, a man who originally didn't want to put his hand up for the role and has had to have his arm twisted to do it. Now this outside group that has long pushed for change is saying the latter, more the Grant Thomas model. They've likened it to the Collingwood process in that, as we remember, Mark Corder took over from Eddie Maguire. We know Mark Corder's now been removed from that position, but they've likened it to that situation that basically there's no real change. The vice president at the footy club, Peter Nankervis, will take the reins from Jeff Kennett. So there's no real change in their view. I think this is going to be something we're going to hear a lot more about over the next few months.
Hey, Mitch, who is that other group, that Hawks for Change group? Who are they proposing or putting up as their option?
Well, they originally named Ian Silk as that man. He was then removed and took himself out of the process, Lingy. So in terms of the Hawks for Change, they actually, through the process, they put names forward. I don't know those names. Those names haven't come to light, as I'm aware. They didn't want to distribute those names, but they felt that the Hawks needed a complete change from the current board, and it's not what the Hawks are going to get. They're going to get the current vice president in Peter Nankervis.
Wow. Mitch, appreciate all that. We'll come back to you shortly. Obviously, Mitch riding the boundary for us tonight on Grandstand AFL. The Hawks...
Who said politics only happen in Canberra?
Correct. The Hawks and the Dogs are already out on the playing arena. We've got 10th versus 14th as it was coming into the weekend to get us going on Friday night, the first leg of a doubleheader, and then to follow West Coast and Essendon over in Perth. So we'll take you there for the second half. You'll get 6 quarters of footy tonight on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital around the country. There's no late change. Lockie McNeil is the sub for the Bulldogs and Josh Morris for Hawthorn. We've also got a debutant. James Blank is going to make his debut in jumper number 36. He was picked up in the mid-season draft just 3 weeks ago. He spent the last 3 years at Box Hill, 195-centimetre defender playing under Sam Mitchell there. He now links up with his old coach at AFL level. Tim O'Brien plays against his old team for the first time, and Cody Waitman, after that gruesome elbow injury, has pulled up and is playing and is warming up at the moment at full forward for the Western Bulldogs. Cameron Ling and Nick Moldhouse, talk us through it. What are we in for tonight?
Wasn't he superb last week, Cody Waitman? That was a brilliant game to watch. Him and Toby Green at each end of the ground just going at it. I loved watching it. And I think Cody Waitman, who's copped a fair bit of flack, won quite a few fans last week.
That's how you change your reputation, isn't it?
Yep. You play that sort of footy, no accentuating contact or anything like that, just playing great footy and really brave and gutsy. Mick, when I look through that Bulldogs team, it still makes me scratch my head why they're not a little bit higher on the ladder. And even coming tonight, you go, well, they should win, and they probably do win, but I've got doubts. But the names on the paper here in front of me mean I shouldn't have doubts. There's Bontempelli, Treloar, Dunkley, McRae. Waitman played terrific footy. Libba. You just go through that and you think, that is an outstanding midfield. You've got some good creative half-backs. You've got a star up forward who can take a big grab. Shouldn't they be a hell of a lot better than this? And this is just a certainty tonight, but I don't feel that way.
Lingy, I agree. It's not a certainty, but look, you've mentioned a few names. Let's look at clearances. McRae, Liberatore, Bontempelli. Most of those are already in front of anything at Hawthorn. We've got Mitchell 67, O'Meara 64, McRae's 96, Liberatore's 83. That's not their problem. It's when that breaks down they are gone. But that's not their problem. Their forward line is one of the problems because it just doesn't gel the way it's played. They are just all over the shop when Norton leads. Who drops into the hole? English is not playing tonight. Bruce is not playing. Is it Waitman? Well, he's only a small forward. I know he had a big day last week, and he can have those days, but so can Charlie Cameron. None. So you can go. Small forwards can be held to nothing. And then down the other end, they are certainly without. I think they're one, maybe even two really good defenders short, or backline. I'll say backline players. So the mids might do a lot of damage, but if it comes out of that forward line reasonably well, I don't know whether they've got the back line that can actually hold up against the best sides, and I think that's what's let them down.
Because that's Hawthorn's one wood, isn't it? That if that Dogs forward line does break down a little bit, they're not taking the marks, and Jath and Sicily and these types of players send it back the other way like lightning, they will be able to open up the Dogs at times. So it's going to be two different styles. I don't see that Hawthorn midfield being able to go even close to the Dogs midfield.
They shouldn't.
But the rebounding half-backs could do some damage for the Hawks.
Yeah. Look, if the Dogs don't generate a lot of football, they won't win this game. It's a very simple equation. They have to generate a lot to get the ball inside the front 50. If you ever look inside the front 50s, they dominate compared to Hawthorn. But if they don't capitalise on those entrances, then as sure as eggs, going back the other way, they will get stung and hurt because they're very aggressive and they play off their man, and Hawthorn are pretty good at scoring. The only problem I see is that Wingard's not playing, and he can capitalise on those very, very loose defenders.
So statistically, to back that up, this is the number 1 clearance team versus the number 18 clearance team in the competition. The Hawks are the worst, Dogs are the best. The counterpoint to that is the game against Brisbane, where the Hawks got themselves involved in a shootout, which is what you're talking about. They ended up breaking even in clearances, and as a result, they ended up winning. They edged a very high-scoring, tight game down in Tassie.
Ruckman could have a real big say in this, and because no English. And English is a ruck roving type one. He can get forward and really do some damage. So this is I don't say everything's about where the ruckman puts the ball, because once the ball's in the air and it hits his hand, there is a big discrepancy of where that ball's going to go. But nonetheless, Lingy, we've seen this midfield underperform.
Yep.
And the Dogs underperform. So this will be the test.
The Hawks, I think, to win this one, have to be break even or within 6 or 7 of contested possession and clearances around the middle of the ground. So they can lose it, but just lose it. And then their run and their speed, and that could do some damage. I think the Dogs smack them in the middle of the ground, though. That's my big, big concern for the Hawks.
The Hawks are conceding about 100 points a game, so the Dogs have got their scoring back and going. So, I mean, if it's a shootout, I think we'll all be happy with that. I'm sure the two coaches will be.
Mitch Cleary's on the boundary, Massai.
Tom Mitchell, a surprise starter on the bench for the Hawks. Their sub is Josh Morris. The sub for the Dogs, Lockie McNeil. Both coaches coaching from the bench. Luke Beveridge obviously coached Sam Mitchell to 2 flags as an assistant coach in 2013 and 2014.
So the equation for the Western Bulldogs: win and they're 6th tonight. Lose and they could be 2 games out of the 8 with 2 months left in the season. Away we go on Friday night. Matt Clinch on Grandstand AFL.
Sweet and Reeves. Jordan Sweet, the next man in as he wins the opening tap, and Dunkley's over the top of the footy. Can't knock it clear as he'll force the ball up just to the right of the 2 centre circles. Marcus Bontempelli winning the toss. He'll kick to the left as we see it here at Docklands. Sweet wins down the tap. McRae with a hand pass to Dunkley. Kicks a high ball to the outer wing. They charge after it. CJ underneath it. Got an awkward bounce. Picked up by CJ at left half back. Nice 1-2 with Scrimshaw. Now he's under pressure. Tackled and should be gone.
Just over the line.
Just over the line. Throw it in.
Saved him. Just watching the replay, when he got tackled and went to ground, he very quickly made sure it went out of bounds. Clinchy.
Dogs home game, so they're in the royal blue in their traditional jumper, and the Hawks in the brown and gold stripes with the white shorts as Reeves grabs it out of the ruck to Newcomb. Hand pass and turnover. McRae links up with a kick, comes inside the forward 50 for the Bulldogs. Norton caught at the back, and there's James Blank on debut. Got it from Chankwok Chat. Sends his kick out to the wing for McDonald, and the build-up superb. Hits up Mitch Lewis with the ink not yet dry on his new 4-year deal announced earlier this afternoon. Mitch Lewis between wing and half forward. He chips wide and finds Moore, who marks it half forward. Still 55 out for the Hawks.
As Kajitsky deep as he looks at options, veers out to the right, gets to 50, pulls his kick to the corridor, in from the side. What a great mark. Mitch Lewis had it long enough in the eyes of the umpire, even though Caleb Daniel had picked up the loose footy.
Yeah, he drifted down. Obviously, he'd passed it in. He drifted down, and I know everyone's in a team defence and that sort of setup. Just all watched him run past.
And no one picked him up, Lingy. Let me tell you that right away. This team defence is...
It was Libba who was forced to fly with him at the last second because everyone else thought, I'm guarding my bit of grass. I don't actually need to get an opponent.
For the opening goal tonight, Mitch Lewis, fresh off a new contract. He steers it through for the brown and gold. One of the most dominant forwards at one end and one of the most exciting up-and-comers at the other. And it's Mitch Lewis who opens proceedings at Docklands. 1 straight 6 to the Dogs yet to score. 2 minutes gone, opening term on ABC Sport with Mick Malthouse and Cameron Lee.
Lingy, I walked to work, as you know, and I bumped into this bloke, and I look at the ground now and think, I wonder what damage this bloke could possibly do. Put the right players in front of him. It was the great Simon Beasley. And I reckon it took me 3/4 of an hour to get in. I reckon I spoke to him for 30 minutes on his past achievements and Doug Hawkins kicking it to him. So you can just imagine. So he'd have no worries kicking 100 in this competition.
That's 25 games in a row that Mitch Lewis has at least kicked a goal. And his streak continues. In the first 3 minutes, the Hawks with the opener. Reeves wins it down, but Libba slick hands away to Bontempelli. Centre break for the Dogs. Jamara the target. No mark. Now Scrimshaw on it for the Hawks. Hand pass away to Bramble, who's running the wrong way. Feeds a hand pass to Hardwick against the boundary line. Hooks his kick down the city wing. Bruce makes a contest, builds down to Dunkley. Hand pass to Williams, away to Daniel, and he shares it out wide back to Dunkley. His third touch, chips it down to McComb, no mark. Spills to Jath, he fumbles too. O'Meara off the back flank to Warple on his return. Out to Morrison, and he links up by hand with Bruce, who hits up Lewis, who marks on the wing again for the Hawks.
Looks at options across half forward. Ignores Moore, decides to come inboard, finds Bramble, gets the hand pass to Newcomb, away to Jaff, through the middle of Docklands. He might get within distance, 50 out, almost run down by Norton, did enough to put the kick off. And it misses to the left-hand side. The Hawks 1-1-7 to the Bulldogs yet to score. 4 minutes gone, opening term.
Outstanding by Aaron Norton then.
Oh, absolutely.
To close that gap and get that hand in.
But that's what happens when you have a 5-man forward line. You leave the best runner, and Hawks have got the best runner off the half-back line.
Hawks win it back from the kick-out. Warple hands it to Blank, the debutant. Goes inside 50. Kaczynski makes a contest. Gardner swats it down, but straight to Lewis of the Hawks. His hand pass back into traffic. Kaczynski got it back out to Lewis. Flying shot on goal. He misses to the left.
Mitch Lewis is doing all right for a bloke who was drafted as a gag, wasn't it, Corbs?
Yeah.
Sam Mitchell and Jordan Lewis.
He came in the year that both of them departed. He's had 5 touches already here. 1 goal, 1 and 3 score involvements. Hawthorn the first 3 scores. 5 minutes in, they're 1-2-8. The Western Bulldogs yet to score.
Pick 76 back in 2016. Daniel indoors, Norton at half-back. Sicily picks it up for the Hawks. Hand pass to Howe. Kicks inboard for Jaff. He's got options in the corridor. O'Meara marks, short on the lead. Bruce had it spoiled away. Ricochets towards O'Meara at the top of the 50. Gave it to Warple, back in the Hawks lineup. To CJ, to Howe, ran into a dead end. Aaron Norton lays him up in a tackle and forces a ball up at right half forward for the Hawks.
That's one of those you say, thanks to your teammate, did you really need to give me that handball? Just sold him into a world of trouble.
The Hawks have had 3 times as many touches and yet haven't won a clearance until now as the ball up. O'Meara shoots a kick forward, but Richards chops it off at centre half back. Kicks to McRae. His kick comes very wide. Wanted Trelaw. Wasn't a good kick. And it slides out of play in front of the benches.
Well, he couldn't go forward because the Hawks have got 5v4. It was 3. And this is where they're going to marry up. Okay, looks like the Dogs now are going to marry up their forward line, which now takes the runner away.
Toss back in, Sweet and Reeves. Ned Reeves wins down the tap, but it's Dunkley for the Dogs. Gets the hand pass away to Scott. Around his body towards Norton. Nudge Sicily underneath and takes the mark. Now he has West running into the pocket. He puts it there. Order Waitman on the lead. In the end, it's well spoiled by Hardwick, who sees it out of play for the Hawks. Left forward pocket for the Western Bulldogs. Hawthorn by 8 points.
That would have been a good test for Waitman because he led and the ball was a bit over his head, so he would have copped a lot of body work. It's just a bit too high for him.
Boundary throw in. Reeves wins it down. Hurried kick from Howe out of congestion. Heads to the boundary line.
This.
And he's going to be pinged for deliberate.
Yeah. It's obvious. The umpire, as soon as they start charging to the boundary line.
You know it's coming. Alex Keith will take the free kick. He's about 60 out. Left half forward in his 50th game tonight, Alex Keith, for the Bulldogs. Of course, starting his career with the Crows, he lays it up into the pocket. And James Blank involved again as he punches it over the boundary line. A throw in forward pocket for the Dogs.
Hawthorn are very good at spoiling the ball, as are Geelong. They're the two best sides in the comp. That kick was not meant to go there. It came off the side of his boot. That was supposed to be about 15, 20 metres out from goal. He just misdirected that kick.
Mick Malthouse and Cameron Ling with you on Friday Night Footy. Thrown back in. Jamara doing the ruck work against Reeves. Reeves palms it down to Warple. He's tackled by Bontempelli. Has to tunnel it out. McRae for the Bulldogs. Hand pass backwards to Scott. Screws it towards the teeth of goal. Norton's there from the side. Shackey spoils it down. Racing after it, Morrison gathers for the Hawks. Jams it on the boot. Kicks up towards McConnell. McDonald able to gather and get away from Bontempelli. Links up with Shields. Now works it out to Connor Nash on the outer wing. Back to McDonald. The Hawks through the middle of the ground by hand to Jager O'Meara. 50 out, almost run down by Treloar. Kicks long to the goal mouth. Back with the flight. Brilliant. Excellent mark from Dylan Moore, who jams it through. More of that as Dylan Moore showing great courage to fly back with the flight and claim the mark. And really just had to pop it through from a couple of metres out. The Hawks are the opening 2 goals of the match. They're 2-2-14 to the Bulldogs, yet to score 8 minutes in.
That is a superb mark. Courage by Dylan Moore. He's a first quarter specialist, or a first half specialist in particular. But that was outstanding by him. To go back as a smaller guy, thinking he knew that there was a pair of players coming from our side of the ground back towards the goal square at about the same speed that he was running at. And he did not blink. Brilliant play.
Lingy, that's come out of the front 50 of the Dogs. The run out of there has been pretty good so far. We've only been going a few minutes.
Hawks 2-2, Dogs yet to score. Reeves wins the hit out down to Mitchell. Hand pass to Newcomb. Hawthorn going forward again. Kicks in the Moore direction. Inadvertently off the shins of O'Brien. Ricochets to McDonald. 60 out, half forward for the Hawks. Hand pass to Moore. Wrong foot to O'Brien and hits up Lewis. Gee, Dylan Moore, after kicking the goal, and now delivers it lace out for his key forward.
Get the dock out to Tim O'Brien. I think his ankles just got broken. That was a nice move by Dylan Moore. Had him going all sorts of directions.
First time against his old team tonight for Tim O'Brien. That's not what you want. Chasing the small forward around and then getting wrong-footed. And now Mitch Lewis, a young superstar spearhead. He's got 2 already, and the Hawks are giving the Bulldogs all they can handle. In the opening 10 minutes, Hawthorn pitching a shutout, 3-2-20. The Dogs zip, yet to score. 10 minutes played on Grandstand AFL. Mick Malthouse and Cameron Ling.
Well, it's very rare to see if at this stage of the game. I know it's only early days, but the key forward is the number 1 possession getter, because he's marked up on the wing. He's created one of the assists. He's now kicked 2 of the 3 goals. But there's that much space. The leading into that space, the Dogs again have been caught running and chasing. Yeah, the chases have been good. No one can say they haven't been chasing, but they've been chasing. And they've been chasing players who have had full control of the football into an open forward line.
Hawks skip out to a 20-point advantage in the opening term. And now the challenge well and truly with the Dogs. Shackey having a run in the ruck for the Western Bulldogs. Up against Reeves here. Reeves palms it over the back beautifully to Mitchell. Hand pass to Nash to Newcomb. Here they go again. Straight down the pipe. Great kick to Moore. Can't take the mark. O'Meara front and centre. Ran into Richards. Gets the hand pass to Tom Mitchell. Kicks towards the teeth of goal. Keefe under pressure. He juggles the mark with his fingertips. Up against Mitch Lewis, who's been marking everything. Out of defence, up towards Dunkley at left half back. He takes the mark with Morrison, going back with a flight. Not paid, but he has enough time to get it to Scott. To Liberatore, back to Scott, and now to Dunkley.
Dunkley gives it back to Scott, the lefty against the boundary line, rides the contact from Newcomb, sends it to half forward. No mark, spills to Norton, jams it on the boot, turns it over. Scrimshaw with the intercept mark. Immediately the dangerous kick to centre half back's a beauty. Got it to Moore of the Hawks. Hand pass to Nash. Hands it to Jaff. Runs straight into Richards. Richards with the tackle and holding the ball to call. Free kick for the Bulldogs in the middle of Docklands.
He's got options. Straight to Bontempelli, who marks at the edge of the centre square. Riley West the target. Can he get it? Yes. Sicily comes cannoning into him late. And West had enough of the footy to, if not be paid the mark, certainly get the free kick.
I don't reckon Sam Mitchell will care about Jath getting caught holding the ball there. I think he will love the attempted play. The kick inside was perfect by Scrimshaw. The run from behind by Jath is exactly what they want. It was just a good tackle by Richards, nice kick by Bontempelli, and the Dogs get a shot at goal. But that Hawks play still remains dangerous.
Couple of goals last week against the Giants. He's found his spot in this Western Bulldogs side. Riley West comes in and pushes it across the face. Their first score is a minor to the right-hand side. Hawthorn 3-2-20. Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
Some stern words from Luke Beveridge towards his ruckman, Jordan Sweet, down here. Clinchy, and some work for Blake Hardwick on his left hand. Just getting some patch-up work on his on some fingers on his left hand.
Thanks, Mitch, as Bramble goes short to Jath, and Jath chips it to Newcomb. And a slow play now, the Hawks at half-back. Newcomb decides to play on, takes on Dunkley. Tumbles a kick down the wing, but chopped off by Libba. Hand pass to Treloar. Hands it to Joe Hannison, centre-half forward. Links up with the Bond. All class through centre-half forward, but he hits the post. And he's shot goalward. And another behind. So Hawthorn 3-2. The Dogs 2 behinds. 13 minutes in on Grandstand AFL. Hawks by 18.
Bit of relief there for James Blank, who went hard to Bontempelli's right leg. First gamer. Instead of realising he's always going to go on his left.
Bramble long end to Howe, a beautifully placed kick, and they're on the move again. Long towards Bruce, 1-on-1 with Richards at half forward. The reinforcements arrive. Keith brought down by Bruce. Did he have a chance to get rid of it? The umpire says no. And a ball up at left half forward for the Hawks, leading by 18 points.
Yeah, great play by Richards. Really strong play. Just that ball could have been... Well, that's the way the Hawks have scored so far, by getting the ball on a quick play.
Shacky palms it down, but straight to Mitchell. His hand pass got to Newcomb. Somehow he got it out as he's been tackled. Bruce from half forward kicks to the top of the goal square. Here's Kucitsky's tackle, dispossessed. Lewis tried to have had a fresh air shot, trying to soccer it through. And the Dogs mop it up as Shacky receives it from Keith. He's in the back pocket for the Bulldogs. Swings it all the way out to Hayden Crozier, who's one of the 2 inclusions for the Dogs. First game since round 8. Hits up Richards. Tumbles a kick down the wing all the way along the ground to Scott, who again is dealt with after kicking the footy down the wing. The contact came from Butler, and the umpire said it was a little late, so downfield free, and Macomb to take it for the Bulldogs right in front of the benches. It's the Hawks by 18.
Tries to put it towards Dunkley. Big fly from Impey. Just set that kick up beautifully for Jarman Impey, who waited for Josh Dunkley to get in position and had a nice ride on his back. Takes the intercepting mark and back inside the defensive 50 to Sicily. Spins the footy in his hands as chips it over the top to Scrimshaw. Still inside the defensive 50 arc. Hawthorn in no urgency to go forward quickly at the moment until they get outside of the defensive 50 arc. So to Tom Mitchell and now to Howe at left half back. Now they want to move it a bit quicker. Shields up to the wing, who works it to Kazitsky, who marks on his chest.
He just rolls and immediately wants to go. So Kazitsky with a long kick to a contest at half forward. Over the back comes Richards, jumps into his teammate O'Brien, close to the boundary line. Bruce and Keith Harvett over the boundary, so a throw in forward pocket for the Hawks.
If I'm watching Hawthorn from previous weeks, there's a real effort to play on, to catch the Dogs' aggressiveness on their back line, because they're playing off.
Yep. Boundary throw in, Nash pulls it down, Newcomb knocks it back to a dangerous area, top of the goal square. Richards there for the Bulldogs. Hand pass to Daniels, sweeping hand pass to Crozier, off the back flank, kicks out of the defensive 50. Impey just bowls Dunkley over, and he'll get a free kick for in the back. He'll come back to Dunkley on the back flank. Hawthorn 3-2, the Bulldogs just the 2 behinds. 16 minutes in on Grandstand AFL.
Possession number 8 coming out for Josh Dunkley, leading disposal getter on the ground, back inside the defensive 50 to Richards. And then out to Gardner, who has it in the right back pocket, careful with his delivery. And the mark is taken by Shacky, still at right half back.
It's a slow switch though, isn't it? Now they're going to try and come back this side. This could work. They've loaded up big numbers on our side of the ground. They just need to get it there quicker though, more precise.
It's Crozier's turn on left half back, drives it up, found the right option. The mark's taken by Scott. Hand pass away to Dunkley, can pull his kick towards Jamara down low. Yeah. He takes the mark in the left forward pocket. And Ugelhagen will get an early shot on goal.
Yeah, very well done by the Dogs. Really well done. looked at one side, couldn't get through, come this other side. I was really surprised that Hawthorn didn't push harder across. They left their players in the middle of the ground.
I wonder if it was a set play, because they switched slowly to that side, but still kept a heap of numbers this side to draw Hawthorn across once and then bring it back to this massive numbers.
He's hit the goal in 5 of his last 6, but they just want a bit more, and that's off the shin and misses everything. Out of bounds on the full out to the left. That was offline by, 25 metres.
That is so strange, Matt. When you called it as it left the boot, it was...
No momentum.
No, actually, 2 or 3 steps.
Yeah.
Really lazy kick.
Sicily to bring it back into play. Hawks by 18. Kicks down the wing. Reeves got a hand to it. Slips through to Dale, though, the Bulldogs. Hand pass to Scott. Hands it away to McRae. Goes along the ground to Jamara. His hand pass knocked down by Jack and over the boundary line. And a throw in between wing and half forward for the Bulldogs.
Jamara's coming off now. I just wonder whether it would have been better to leave, just tell him to stay out there. I know it'd been a rotation time, but stay out there and see if you can get his confidence back. You're not going to get it on the bench. I know that they have, interchanges.
I'm watching Luke Beveridge now. There doesn't seem to be too much gesturing to the kick, Mitch.
Aaron Norton and Jamara both off at the same time, Mick. It's an interesting call given their 2 key forwards.
And the boundary throw in, the Dogs are going to get it back. So this is McRae from 55 out, kicks to the top of the goal square. Hand on it from Scrimshaw, still live for the Bulldogs. Johannisen runs away from Blank and hooks through the Dogs first. JJ kicks the opener for the Bulldogs. And boy, is it much needed after conceding the first 3 at the other end. Finally, they're on the board. And Jason Johannisen moves the Dogs to 1-2-8. Hawthorn a 3-2-20. Hawks by 12 points. 19 minutes in. Mick Moldhouse, Cameron Lane.
Nice finish by Jason Johannisen there. What was Daniel Howe thinking? He left Bailey Williams completely alone and flew for that ball. Did not even get close to getting a hand on it. It was just a dumb decision. That meant that Johannisen's man, when the ball got over the back, had to go to Bailey Williams because he was completely free. That then leaves Johannisen free. A nice finish, but it's a pretty simple goal for an AFL standard player. Daniel Howe, if you're going to fly like that,
you've got to contact.
Get your hands on the footy and smash it out of bounds.
Cameron Ling with you on ABC Sport. The Bulldogs first cuts it back to a 12-point margin, but the Hawks get the clearance through Warple. Hand pass to Nash, kicks inside the 50. Kaczynski up with one arm, got it down to Bruce, run down, no whistle. Eventually they get clear. Gardner with a hand pass to Keith. It's not one yet though. Williams has to regather. Volleys a kick out to Keith at halfback. Hand pass out in front of McRae. Under pressure from Butler, trying to nudge him off it. McRae's up for it. Hand pass to Dale through the gauntlet. Couldn't find a way through. Howe throws him into the turf and he's penalised holding the footy. Hawthorn take it back at right half forward.
It'll be Daniel Howe's free kick.
Good pressure by the Hawks. Really good pressure. They had a chance to clear the ball with a quick kick. Dogs, but it's not their nature. They always try to find a target.
Just about every player inside the Hawks forward 50. Kicks to the top of the goal square. Gardner puts his fist through it. Spills down in front of Jager. Tackled immediately. Williams for the Dogs. Hand pass to McComb. Hands it away to West. Off the back flank. Short kick to Waitman. No mark. Coughs it up. Warple. Hand pass to Moore. Kicks into the pocket. Lewis all alone. Gets there on the bounce. Great tackle, Keith. Hand pass from Lewis ends up out of play. And a throw in 40 metres out from the Hawks goal.
Mick, before the game you mentioned the ruck being important. Right now, Ned Reeves is channeling a bit of Polly Farmer. He's dominating.
He's 2'11". He's up against blokes that just don't go up. They go to his navel.
He's destroying him.
Son, of course, of the CEO as he wins down the tap here. Wiley West onto it. Could have almost been ridden in the back. The umpire says he'll ball it up.
Tallest player in the AFL at the moment and the tallest player ever to play for Hawthorn at 2'11 centimetres.
So that's the same as Sandlin's, I reckon?
I think he's too short. I think Sandy was 2'13".
Oh,
yeah, that's big, isn't it?
That's huge.
2'13".
Yeah.
Just get used to looking up. Sweet one down the tap. McRae couldn't bust through. Warple laid the tackle. Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
Just to add to that conversation, Richmond's just signed a basketball at 2'13", 2'14", so he's now the official tallest player in the competition. Mate Kalina, he's been playing over in Hawaii.
Wow. What's he been playing? Footy?
He's going to be a tap ruckman. Keith out of defence, kicks up to the wing. Bontempelli able to swat it on, trying to work with Crozier. Shields did enough to pressure him off it. O'Meara goes to the bump, trying to clear a path for Blank. He's tackled by Bontempelli. Got it to O'Meara. To Shields up against the boundary. He tries to work it back to O'Meara. Jams it on the boot. Gardner lunges forward. Got a hand to it, but couldn't get it away from Bruce, who hurries the kick inside 50. Kaczynski becomes the tackler. Keith gets the hand pass clear. Bulldogs under enormous pressure. Dale gave it back to Keith. He's tackled by Reeves, and the umpire will pull it up in the left forward pocket for the Hawks. The pressure there applying has the Bulldogs under all sorts of stress.
Well, you always know the Dogs will hand pass quickly and to wherever anyone's around. So you just know in the vicinity, just tackle the nearest bloke to, you'll get him.
Shackey palms it down to West. Sweeping hand pass to half-back to Dunkley. Out of a defensive 50 to Scott. Hurried handball, a turnover. Scrimshaw, high half forward for the Hawks. Hand pass to Bruce. Gives it to Impey. Chucks it on the boot hurriedly. Kicks it out on the full. And forward pocket for the Hawks.
Hawks again then coming forward quickly onto the handball receiver. What Mick's talking about there. They're always going to give it. So if you can close down on that receiver quickly, force a mistake, and really Scrimshaw should have just banged it inside.
Oh, dangerous kick as Keith comes all the way to centre half back. Lewis there wrestling for it. Spills out to Nash of the Hawks. Under pressure. Got a hand pass to Butler, centre half forward. Kick chopped down. Spills to Warple. Still centre half forward for Hawthorn. Knocks it out to Bruce. Dancing through traffic. Hand pass got its way to Bramble eventually with a tap from Nash. The kick, a goal across his body. In the end, lucky to sneak it through for a minor score just to behind. 3-3 to 1-2, 23 minutes in, Hawthorn by 12.
Yeah, the Dogs have certainly closed the game up from what it was early. There was a lot of freedom by the Hawks, but they've closed that down now, so it becomes more of a contested football.
Dale into Daniel, who works it to Richards, to half-back. McRae trying to hand pass to Williams, hard against the boundary line, and it's across the boundary through the pressure of the Hawks. So a boundary throw in between wing and half forward for the Hawks. They lead by 13 points. 3-3-21.
I don't know if it's sustainable, but that quick squeeze by the Hawks right now is really worrying the Dogs. They're going to have to be onto it all night, though.
So the Bulldogs 1-2-8. Warple from the clearance. Hand pass to Impey to a stationary Reeves, who has to give it to Nash. He's tackled. Drake's away from the Liberatore tackle. Gets it to Morrison. Up and under kick towards the 50. Lewis is underneath it. Flying in from the side was Moore, but Mitch Lewis too big. He does enough to juggle it. Just outside 50, out to the right.
No wonder they've signed him to another 4 years. He's on fire.
Might have to give him more the way he's playing. Inboard he comes to Morrison, who drives it long towards the 50. Bruce up, can't take the mark. Butler tackled, lost it. Kaczynski scraps for it, with he and Treloar having a share of the footy. And the umpire will throw it up 30 metres out from the Hawks' goal. Hawthorn by 13.
The Dogs' forward line at the moment is really collapsing on itself. It's just not being able to get out with any confidence.
Reeves pushes it to the top of the goal square. Kaczynski trying to pick it up, goes to ground. Warple put his head over it, got contact in the other direction. Ump says it's all legal, and we've got another stoppage. A ball up, 20 out from the Hawks' goal. The Hawks by 13. The early start, the doubleheader on Friday night footy. Sweet wins it down. Treloar links up with McRae. Kicks out a defensive 50. Johannesson marking strongly in front of Bramble. Half-back for the Bulldogs. He goes short to Treloar, not 15. Hurried kick down the wing, and Shackey hitting up takes the mark for the Bulldogs. Logo City wing.
He looks up towards half forward. Norton's the target. Coming in. Scrimshaw, excellent mark.
Great mark.
Lands awkwardly, but he's able to take a good contested mark against one of the prominent forwards in the competition. Back to Sicily. Short. The option was on, and Newcomb takes the mark. Pinching it away from Waitman. Thought about the hand pass back to Sicily. Now looking to switch.
Give it to Sicily.
Tries to draw Dunkley. He does so and gives it to Sicily. Hasling invited.
You got to know your teammates. James Sicily is a better kick than Jai Newcomb. That's not taking anything away from Jai. It's just a fact.
Delamore, who goes short to Jarman Impey. Back into the lineup, out wide to the wing, and Mitch Lewis is everywhere at the moment.
Lewis, number 45 to Mitchell. Hawks by 13 points, and they're going forward again. Time on in the first. A long kick. Deep. O'Meara in a wrestle with Dale. Just got a little push off. In fact, it's Bruce who's going to take the mark in a one-on-one. And Luke Bruce. Gee, we haven't seen him win too many of those like that this year, but he holds out Bailey Dale. And now Bruce will have a set shot from 25 out on a 45-degree angle.
Oh, now Dale would be like he'd be thinking, what is Gardner doing to help me in the air? Just ran past him.
So Bruce on the set shot, that's his thing. He rarely misses those. And you hear the Bruce chants go up around Docklands. Hawthorn have their fourth. They move to 4-3-27. The Bulldogs 1-8. Hawks by a new game high. They're up by 19 points. 27 travelled opening term.
You're spot on, Mick, because, I mean, Luke Bruce, when he was at his absolute peak, was excellent in a one-on-one marking contest. He is so strong for a smaller forward, and he had really good position on Bailey Dale. He got him under the ball, just had to hold his ground, and then at the last second come off. That's where, as a defender, you were just praying a teammate's coming, and Ryan Gardner was there to do it. It's...
Oh, I get annoyed at that. But it's almost become selfishness or just not thinking, one or the other, because that's what you do for your mates in the back line.
Hawks out by 19 again. Back in the middle. Sweet wins down the tap, but straight to Warple of the Hawks. Kicks towards half forward. McDonald trying to palm it down to Butler. He goes back and wins his own footy. Out past to Morrison. Kicks around his body. Awkward ball for Bruce. Got a cruel bounce. But now Dale has to try and deal with it. Crashing in. I think that was Newcombe who is worse for wear. A chance for the Hawks through through Dylan Moore. Got it out to Bruce. Screws it back towards the corridor. Up with one arm was McComb. Hasn't fully dealt with it. Bruce trying to get it back. Down low O'Meara. Only as far as Tim O'Brien. And there's a couple of players down. Alex Keith is one. Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
Just an earlier incident. Jack Scrimshaw took that great mark intercepting in back 50. He's hurt his left shoulder, staying on the ground for now, refusing to come off.
Jackie doing the ruck work, palms it down. McRae links up with Dale. A hand pass to Gardner in the defensive goal square. He kicks out to halfback. Daniel out after it. Cheap big collision. Bruce in the other direction. Hawks win the footy through McDonald. Hand pass to Bruce against the boundary line. Kicks to the top of the goal square. No mark. Kaczynski competing and then recklessly throws himself in and makes contact high. And the Bulldogs defender in O'Brien. The Dogs racing away with the footy, and Jackie takes the mark out at half-back for the Bulldogs.
Can chip it over the top to McRae, who's kept running. Possession number 10 coming up for him to join Josh Dunkley. Comes inboard and Dale has it.
How good was that by Caleb Daniel and Luke Bruce before? I was scared for both of them.
Switches play to O'Brien, who marks inside the defensive 50, up to Crozier, who marks at left half-back. We've only seen him once since he had that heart scare at half-time in round 2 against the Blues.
There's no run from the Dogs, absolutely no run, and that's why they can't get the ball in their forward line on their terms. It's probably close to even inside front 50, but it's ridiculous how...
Back to O'Brien and to Keefe, who missed Gardner with the kick. They're trying to find one of their half-back outlets, and in the end the siren saves them. Hawthorn off to the fast start here at Docklands with the early start for the match, leading by 19 points, 4-3-27. To the Western Bulldogs 1-8. Mitch Lewis kicked 2 in that opening term, while Luke Bruce was the other goal scorer. And Dylan Moore, meanwhile, for the Western Bulldogs, their goal came through Jason Johannesson.
So it's 1 quarter down on Grandstand AFL, the first game of a double-header tonight. We will take you to Perth for the second half of the match between West Coast and Essendon. If you want to listen to it in full, check out the AFL app, go to the Match Centre and look out, of course, for the ABC Worm, and you can follow along for the full call of West Coast and Essendon. We will be taking you there on ABC Radio across the country for second half action. 1 quarter down here, Hawks by 19 points on ABC Radio, ABC News Radio and Sport Digital. This is Grandstand AFL.
Massive interest rate cuts from the
25% increase.
Infectious.
Keep across the news that matters to you with the ABC Listen app.
Get up-to-the-minute local, national and world news. Live and on demand.
US and NATO officials believe...
In-depth investigations from ABC podcasts.
Like Triple J's Hack, ABC News Daily and many more.
All the news that matters to you.
With the ABC Listen app.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Koschitzki deep as he looks at options. Veers out to the right, gets to 50, pulls his kick to the corridor, in from the side. What a great mark. Mitch Lewis for the opening goal tonight. Mitch Lewis, fresh off a new contract. He steers it through for the brown and gold. Connor Nash on the outer wing. Back to McDonald. The Hawks through the middle of the ground by hand to Jager O'Meara. 50 out, almost run down by Treloar. Kicks long to the goal mouth. Back with a flight.
Brilliant.
Excellent mark from Dylan Moore, who jams it through.
Mitchell, hand pass to Newcombe. Hawthorn going forward again. Kicks in the Moore direction. Inadvertently off the shins of O'Brien. Ricochets to McDonald. 60 out, half forward for the Hawks. Hand pass to Moore. Wrong foot to O'Brien and hits up Lewis. Mitch Lewis, a young superstar spearhead. He's got two already. And the Hawks are giving the Bulldogs all they can handle. The boundary throw in, the Dogs are going to get it back. So this is McRae from 55 out, kicks to the top of the goal square. Hand on it from Scrimshaw, still live for the Bulldogs. Johannison runs away from Blank and hooks through the Dogs first.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
4 goals to 1, Hawthorn by 19 points at quarter time on Grandstand AFL. Corbin Middlemass, Matt Clinch, Mitch Cleary on the boundary, and our Grandstand AFL experts, Mick Malthouse and Cameron Ling.
Mick, leading into this game, we thought that if Hawthorn could perhaps break even in clearances and contested possession in the middle of the ground, given that's where the Dogs' strengths would lie, we thought they could be really dangerous and their rebound off half-back would do some damage. That first quarter, the Hawks, plus 14 in contested possessions. Centre clearances, 4-1 Hawthorn's way. So not only did they dominate the area of the ground where we thought the Dogs might have the advantage, then that run and bounce off half-back and through the middle of the ground was able to slice through, and they dominated that quarter. Probably didn't even get full value for how much they dominated.
20-9 inside 50s, Mick. The Hawks had 20-9.
29. But I always have a look at, and this might be a random stat. I look at possessions and see how many times you score. So the Dogs are going 34 possessions before they score a point or a goal, and Hawthorn are going 17. So what that tells you, one is either clearing the ball very well or running the ball very well or getting the ball in there in a relatively uncontested or a less than contested possession. So they're only a stat that I used as a coach just to have a bit of an indicator of, are you wasting the ball, are you getting the ball, who's getting it, what. This is just diabolical for the Dogs. Can be fixed up. They can't grow another few centimetres on their ruckman, but what they can start to do is work better at the stoppages and run the ball. I like Crozier. When Crozier was at his best, he was running and kicking the ball inside front 50. At the moment, 9-20 says a lot about the back line and midfield not running the ball and getting it into, and we don't know what a Hawthorn's back line is because they haven't been tested.
No, not with any real damaging, dangerous ball. No. It's been long, high, scrappy kicks, and then Sicily and Jath and all those just going for it.
Yeah, they're trying to get in a Dale, Daniel or Richards' hands, but it's obvious to everyone else that they're chipping it around trying to get it into one of those outlets' hands.
And that's what Hawthorn are doing really well. When the Bulldogs are giving that extra handball, the Hawks are so fast onto the receiver.
Oh, yeah.
And they know that handball's coming, and it's causing a mistake, a turnover, and then the Hawks are flying back through.
You did highlight pre-game, Lingy, that they need to be a few in front of the clearances or the contested possessions, or preferably both. Well, they're plus 15 in contested possessions, Hawthorn in that opening term, and they're just about breaking even in the clearances, 10-9. The Dogs edging that by 1, and as Clinchy outlined, the inside 50s plus 11 in favour of the Hawks. They lead by 19 points at quarter time. Mitch Cleary's downstairs. Mitch, you've been keeping an eye on both huddles.
There's 2 injury concerns at quarter time, Corbin. You'll recall late in that first quarter a head clash between Jai Newcombe and Jacob Koschitzki at the top of the Hawthorn goal square. Well, the doctor has just taken Jai Newcombe down to the rooms for what I can only predict is a head concussion test, so we'll hopefully see Jai Newcombe back up here very shortly. The other one from the Bulldogs huddle is Tim O'Brien went down to the rooms. Still no sight of him with the Bulldogs doctor. I'll keep you updated on both fronts.
Thanks, Mitch. It's not the start that Tim O'Brien wanted against his old team for the first time. He's sort of followed a number of former Hawks across in Matt Suckling and Taylor Duray in recent years, and now in Bulldogs colours.
We've got to give a little quick pump up. Mitch Lewis's first quarter, how good was that? 9 disposals, 2 goals, 6 marks, because he's been prepared to get up the ground and be the bailout kick at the logos, the old we say just presenting up to the logos on the wings, but then getting back inside forward 50. A brilliant first quarter from the newly re-signed Hawk.
He's got a couple of goals and Hawthorn lead it by 19 points as we enter the second quarter on Grandstand AFL. Reeves gets a couple of goes at it. Nash in the end receives it from Mitchell. Kicks to Lewis, who climbs a pack. Can't take the mark. Kaczynski palms it down to Moore, and into his back goes Alex Keith. So a free kick, Dylan Moore.
Dylan Moore has just done the little lean in with the right shoulder and made sure that got him high. The umpire spotted it. There is no question that he contributed to the high contact. It was a great fly by Mitch Lewis, first of all, but
Mitch Lewis, by the way, just putting his knee right in the back of Ed Richards' head.
I don't like these free kicks, do you?
No, it shouldn't be there. But
so Dylan Moore to cash in on the gift. He can't quite, misses out to the left to behind.
I think umpire should call play on.
Well, I think they're supposed to when they dip into it as much as that. But small forwards have been trying things for 100 years to get that extra little goal. Saw it again there.
Caleb Daniel with a dash, takes a bounce out of defence, up to Riley West. Great mark. He's able to perfectly time his leap off the back of Bramble and take the mark. The kick wasn't as good, out too wide for Pontepelli, who gathers on the bounce, but it's over the boundary line.
Well, that's our first run we've seen. It's out of the goal square admittedly, but the ball's now on the wing. It was only a bad kick. That ball could be in the half-forward line. The Dogs have to start to run like the Hawks are.
Throw back in. Sweet works his way to the front against Reeves. Hand pass to Liberatore. Kicks towards 50. Waitman's out position. And Hardwick takes the mark. Called to play on as he stepped off his line. So kicks boundary side. And finds Connor Nash at right half back. Hawks by 20.
Matt, if I could just say, Waitman hasn't touched the ball yet. And every time he's gone near it, your heart's in your mouth because of the way he has done that elbow. And you're just wondering what sort of mental prep he's had on this.
Hawks switch play, and cheers for James Blank in jumper number 36 on debut, the 21-year-old. Chip short to Shields. Here he is, defensive side of the wing. A long kick down to half forward. Keith went early. They all miss it. Comes out the back. Moore just punches it on for Hawthorn. McDonald keeps his feet. Daniel went to ground. Centering kick to Reeves. And the 211-centimetre giant takes the mark in the corridor. He's 30 metres out. He'll kick almost directly in front.
Got a lot of mobility for a big bloke. He moved really quickly onto that ball.
Big Jordan Sweet, though. The voices inside his head right now would be very, very loud. He's getting destroyed in the ruck contest, getting destroyed around the ground, and now potentially conceding a goal. It's not good.
Ned Reeves, a quarter and a bit in. His game so far has been as big as he is. He dobs this, and Hawthorn have got 5. A new high water mark in the game. Hawthorn by 26 points. 5-4-34. The Western Bulldogs 1-2-8. 3 minutes into the second quarter on Grandstand AFL.
Just watching the replay there. Yeah, as soon as Ned Reeves marked that footy, Jordan Sweet, his head just went down, shattered. So somehow they've just got to find a lift from him. He's getting beaten badly. Luke Beveridge is going to have to use every little trick in the coach's book to just try and lift his spirits to get a competitive ruckman in there. Because right now Reeves is just putting it down any one of his Hawthorn midfielders' throat. 5 centre clearances to 1 at the moment. All Hawthorn's way in the middle of the ground.
Just his 13th game, Ned Reeves, and his 4th goal of his career after missing 6 weeks with a shoulder injury. Back in the middle. Sweet one down the tap. There's a bit of momentum. Got the hand pass to Pontepelli. Back to Sweet. Inside 50. Norton flying. Can't take the mark. Pinched away from Ugelhagen as Jaff out of defence. Switches it to right half back, and Howe takes the mark. Works it up to McDonald. He has it at right half back, looking for options in the middle of the ground. It's a congested outer wing. He eventually decides to honour the short option and finds Howe in return.
Very easy getting out of the front 52, the Hawks. They just have no pressure put on them whatsoever. Even now it's come back inside, but out again.
Howe short to MP all the way back to Jath, and Jath switches play to left half back for Sicily. Feints to get the hand pass to Hardwick. He goes himself. A long kick down to Mitch Lewis. Climbing the back of the pack, Gardner with the intercept mark for the Bulldogs. Half back flank. 5-4 to 1-2. It's Hawthorn by 26 points, a game high as Gardner goes wide to Dale, short kick to Richards. Marks at half-back for the Bulldogs.
Kicks into the middle of the ground. Bontempelli the target. O'Meara from the side spoiled it. Got to Impey. How pass to Tom Mitchell. Out wide to Howno. Can give it to Jaff, who's charging along. Wants to try and feed it to him. He was too slow. And Johannesson, maybe the only man who could keep up with him, got him. Wins it back for the Dogs. Hand pass to Liberatore. To McRae on the outer wing. One way, then the other. Looks up towards half forward. Here's Cody Wakeman. Takes his first mark with that heavily bandaged elbow. He looks inside the 50. Decides to drive it towards Norton and Ugelhagen. Here comes Norton. He was dragged down by Sicily. No whistle.
Had to be a free kick.
Had to be a free kick as Warple gathers to the Hawks. To Howe. He kicks towards Impey. Spoiled away by McRae. Still a chance of the Dogs. Hand pass to Liberatore. 60 out. Sidestep around Warple as he dropped the footy. Kicks along towards Sweet. It clears him and goes through for a minor score. The Dogs will feel they're a little bit unlucky there as... Well, Aaron Norton was dragged down illegally by James Sicily. The umpire didn't see it. Hawks by 25.
Coat hanging down.
Sicily kicks out to Shields, trying to claim the mark. Williams up says he didn't have first touch, still gets a kick going forward. Bounces out of play. 55 out from the Dogs' goal.
I've seen some extraordinary free kicks. Everyone on the ground, I think the Hawthorn people were going, there's a shot for goal. That didn't happen. That mark was taken.
Hawthorn by 25. Huge night for the Bulldogs. They win tonight, they're in the top 8. If they lose, they could be 2 games out of the 8 by the end of the weekend. From the restart, squeezing a kick forward is Shields, but it's coming back. Crozier takes the intercept mark on the wing. Dockside looks for Jamara, who leaps for it over his head. Sicily trying to stand up in the tackle, somehow got it out to Hardwick, but not before he's been pinged. So Sicily caught incorrect disposal and a free kick for Riley West, who was involved in that gang tackle on the Hawthorn defender. And he'll get a free kick here, pressed up against the boundary line at right half forward.
It's quite amazing just watching the Hawks. When the ball's outside front 50, one of their players takes position about 30 metres out, 35 metres out from goal to stop any leading done by the Dogs players.
Riley West, right foot against the boundary line. What a superb finish for a behind as he hits the post. It's a good effort from there. 1-4 to 5-4. It's Hawthorn by 24 points, 7 minutes into the second. Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
John Newcomb back up from the rooms after his concussion test. A high five with the coach. He's ready to go.
So he came off the 23-minute mark of the first term. Mitch, and Tim O'Brien was off at the 20-minute mark, yet to return. The Hawks through Sicily to Impey in the back pocket. Had to get around Jamara and finds Bramble. Still in the left back pocket for the Hawks. They lead by 24 points. As Bramble looks for options, Sweet and Gardner are there. Gardner sets himself. Mitch Lewis fries from behind it, reaches the back. Richards, hand pass to a stationary McComb. Under pressure, turns it over. Morrison for the Hawks. Miss Warple with the hand pass. Has to go back in and win it. Stripped of it. Liberatore scraps at Mitchell. Could have got him high. Liver's got the footy. Play on. There's no whistle. Long towards Ugelhagen. Up with a flight. Norton over the top. Takes the mark.
Ugelhagen had as much of that. That's the first time that he's actually put himself in a position to jump at the ball, not under the ball. So as much as Norton's got the footy, Ugelhagen now from that could say I'm now dangerous, because it was either him or Norton. Both had their hands on it.
You felt like Ugelhagen was going to take the mark, but yet the footy in the hands of Aaron Norton, it's probably a good thing for Dogs fans. A couple of contested marks. Looking for his first goal of the night. Aaron Norton cruises in and gives the Western Bulldogs their second. And didn't they need that? 5-4-34 the Hawks to the Western Bulldogs. 2-4-16. The margin back to 18 points at the 9-minute mark of the second term.
They've probably evened themselves out here, but it's strange. I feel like I'm watching a different game of football to what the umpires are watching right now. There's some really obvious ones getting missed. I know it happens and it's evened out. The Dogs eventually get the goal. They probably should have got 10 minutes ago. The Dogs have got it back a little bit in their half.
That little bit of play by Libba.
Yes.
How did you rate that?
Just then?
Yeah.
Well, it should have been a free kick against him.
That's right.
Too high. But once he then got hunted back and got the ball, that's Liberty's best, isn't it? Just hunting after the footy.
And that changed the dynamics of that contest. Yeah, exactly.
Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
Tim O'Brien also back from the rooms for the Dogs. So both subs and both sides still unused to date. Corbin?
Thanks, Mitch. An 18-point lead for the Hawks. Reeves another hit out, but straight deliver. Hand pass away to Treloar. The Dogs get the break out of the centre. Kicks for half forward over the head of Waitman. Slides through to Jamara. Steps around one would-be tackler. Floats a kick to the top of the goal square. Norton crashes the pack. Spills down to Blank of the Hawks in the back pocket. And a good exiting kick as he hits up Dylan Moore, who marks on the back flank. Looks down the wing for Jager.
Takes the mark, Liberatore off his chase. He blazes away towards the left forward pocket. Connor McDonald races after it. Can he get there? Gathers just inside the boundary. Runs the boundary line. Goes for it himself. In the end, it probably would have gone through. It stayed in the field of play. Flying from the side was bruised. He couldn't complete the mark. And the Dogs find an avenue out through Adam Treloar. He chips it wider still. And McComb has it in the back pocket.
That's their Achilles heel, the Dogs. Ball still coming so easily outside their forward line. That's where the Hawks are making their play.
McComb heads down the city wing. Sicily flies over the top of Waitman and Scrimshaw and knocks it out of bounds. A throw in on the wing. 5-4 to 2-4. 11 minutes travelled second term. Hawks by 18.
Libba just starting to pick off Reeves.
Yep.
He's clever. He's the one who's just trying to read exactly where the Hawks... It's Connor Nash now in the ruck for the Hawks, but Libba will try and read the taller Reeves when he's in there.
And Shaggy for the Dogs. Nash wins it down. Libba protects the footy and wins it. Hand pass to the Bonner. Shares it with Treloar. Sweeping hand pass to Johannesson. 60 out. Looks for Norton. Blank gets back. Spoils it, but straight onto the boot of West. And the son of the West bangs it through on the volley. Dogs have kicked 2 in a row. And all of a sudden, the Hawthorn lead cut to 12. 11 played second term. Hawthorn 5-4. The Bulldogs 3-4 on Grandstand AFL. Cameron Ling and Nick Moldhouse.
And 5 Bulldogs players all just ran to Tom Liberatore there, Nick. That is as good a contested midfield craft as you will see. If you ever want to learn, kids who are listening right now, if you've stayed up a little bit later, though we've had the earlier start, so you're probably still with us, go and get a clip of that. Tom Liberatore's ability to protect his head, protect the ball and win the contest was simply elite there in a 50-50 against Jath. That is as good as you see.
And that's 2 goals.
Yep.
Straight from Liberatore. Straight. That's where that lift needed to come from, that midfield, break the dominance, and they've done it so far.
Hawthorn kick 5 of the first 6. The Dogs are the last 2. Trying to take it to the ruck. Shaki dragged down by Kajitsky. Still a chance for the Dogs. Dunkley with a hand pass to Scott. Working back McComb. Daniel has to try and gather. At half back. Finds a way back through Keefe. Off balance. He kicks a high ball around the wing. Have a fly at that. Shaki, it might be too wide for him. And it's out of bounds on the full. Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
The Dogs have cleared Tim O'Brien of any concussion, but they've taken Ed Richards down for a head assessment. They've been talking to him on and off for 5 minutes. He's down in the rooms.
Newcomb long to Mitch Lewis. Flies and brought it down to Butler. Lost it. Gardner works it back to Treloar. Keefe with a sloppy hand pass. Almost opened the door for Kajitsky, but he's brought down by Daniel. Good effort by the little nuggeting defender. Still a chance for the Hawks. Swooping onto it, Butler. Tackled as he got boot to ball. McComb now, he's tackled by Mitch Lewis. This is only about 10 metres out from the Hawks' goal. And the umpire will ball it up. Hawthorn by 12 points.
Just revisiting that Richards incident. It was when Lewis was flying for a mark in a marking contest, put his knee into the back of Richards' head. So concern for the Dogs defender. From the restart, Libba tries to clear defensive 50. Moore lays the tackle. Ball comes out. Says play on. McComb for the Dogs. Slick hand pass to McRae. Kicks down the city wing. Jamara can't take the contested mark. Spills to Newcomb between wing and half forward for Hawthorn. Hand pass to Scrimshaw to Jaff. His hand pass had turnover to Williams.
Got it away to Caleb Daniel and out of the run of McRae. Vacant half forward line, trying to put it in front of Norton. Straight to Blank. He breaks the tackle of Bontempelli. Gets it to Jaff and now to Sicily. He's chipped. Set Newcomb a task. Half volley. Couldn't gather. Norton gets it. Hand pass to Daniel. Tim O'Brien's on. He marks in the left forward pocket.
For a very
forward.
Sorry, Clinchy. For a very, very good footballer. That was lazy by James Sicily. Just kicking off half a step when he had time to punch it in and just sold his team up the river then. They were wide open. Bad mistake by Sicily.
Having played 97 games at the Hawks against his former club, signing a 2-year deal, Tim O'Brien. predominantly in defence this season. Left forward pocket, 35 metres out. You betcha. The sweetest, as all his teammates come with him to celebrate. And all of a sudden, the Bulldogs have kicked 3 on the trot to close the gap to 6 points Hawthorn's way. 5-4-34 to the Dogs, 4-4-28. 15 minutes gone. Second term on ABC Sport.
Well, they look a different side. Contested possessions up. Inside 50s double, 9-4. Possession rate, a lot of hand passes. That's what's broken those little packs up. Instead of just a blast out, which is sometimes handy, they're using the ball, and the Hawks aren't quite getting to the ones they did in the first quarter. So there's an attrition rate the way the Dogs play, because they do use the hand pass quite convincingly and quite a lot. So you've got to take it to the game, otherwise it's not a quarter.
3 in a row for the Bulldogs. And the Hawks, who have led this game by as many as 26, lead it by just a goal now as Reeves grabs it out of the ruck, dispossessed in a contact from Sweet. Off his knees, Warple lost it. Treloar, hand pass to McRae, who's taken high. Free kick for the Dogs in the middle. They're going to get another break here as McRae swings his kick out to the bot, who marks between wing and half forward, looks inside 50. Bramble takes the intercept mark for Hawthorn. He just stabs at the kick out to McDonald, who's been busy. The teenager marks at half-back. One of only 2 teenagers on the ground, along with his teammate out there in Sam Butler tonight, as his kick heads down the wing. Eventually got its way to Warple. Hand pass to Nash, the Irishman cutting through the middle of Docklands. Hand pass to Scrimshaw. Flares it out wide to Impey.
Now the hand pass to Jaff. Looks up towards 50. Out comes Mitch Lewis. He's bumped off it by O'Brien. Still a chance for the Hawks. Trying to knock it forward was Mitchell. It's picked off though. And out of defence, turning it over was Crozier. CJ has it. He's almost run down by Waitman. He fends him off. Kicks along towards the goal mouth. Kaczynski's there. Bruce as well. Good work from Gardner. The reinforcements get back and Crozier sees it through for a minor score. Hawthorn's lead is evaporating. They lead by 5.
Dale's off. And the kick out, and then tries to hit up a dangerous one-on-one. Wanted Dunkley or Bramble, and Bramble knocks it out of play for the Hawks. So boundary throw in high half forward for Hawthorn. Mitch on the boundary.
Just on the Ed Richards situation, Corbin, as you mentioned, he stayed on the ground for 3 or 4 minutes after that head knock. The head physio down here, Chris Bell, actually received a phone call. Now, I dare say that would have been from the AFL bunker, given they've got their independent doctor, physio type that sits in there and can alert the clubs to any potential head knocks.
So assessment undertaken for Ed Richards. No sub made just yet from the boundary throw-in. Dogs in defensive 50 trying to clear. Warple's locked up and we'll have a ball up half forward for Hawthorn.
I've got an issue with that one. James Warple's on the ground in the act of winning the footy and someone just piles in on top of his head. It's high contact. It doesn't matter if he's down and it's obvious, it's still high contact.
Reeves down to McDonald, kicks the Hawks into the right forward pocket. Bruce trying to pinch it from Dale, kicks towards the goal mouth, but Gardner's there, able to get around. A lunging effort from Bruce combines with Daniel, who kicks up to right half back, and Johannesson has the mark. Can work it over the top to Scott. Has it between wing and half forward, wants to come inboard, and Johannesson takes the mark.
He looks straight into the corridor. It's a good kick, finds McComb alongside the centre circles, continues the shift out to the city side, and Dunkley dropping to his knees, takes the mark, shares it with McRae, who's had it on a string again, looks inside the forward 50, Norton competes, no mark, spills to Mitchell, hand pass to the ruckman in Reeves, and he's gang tackled, and the big man's taken down, and a ball up 20 metres out from the Dogs' goal. Hawthorn lead it by 7 points. 19 travelled in the second term. Shackey and Reeves to go at it. Shackey puts his hands on it first. Comes to Impey. Reeves knocks it back to Nash, to Mitchell. Sold it, hot footy to Morrison. Got it out to Nash. He turns it over. McComb by hand to Treloar. And in the end, Morrison just kicks it out of there in the middle of the ground.
Taken by Crozier on his chest for the Dogs. Hand pass to Scott. Pulls his kick looking for Norton. CJ in front. Spoiled it down straight to McRae. Hand pass to Portapelli. Left forward pocket. You beauty! As the Bond leads from the front. And all of a sudden, the Western Bulldogs have closed the gap once more. It's a 1 point ball game. 5-5-35 to the Bulldogs. 5-4-34. 19 minutes gone, second term. The Hawks got it out by as much as 26 in this second term. Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
The Dogs have made that call on that concussion, so Ed Richards out of the game. Lockie McNeil, the sub, coming in.
That's a shame because he's establishing himself in that side. He's a very good running player. His use of the football's good. His one-on-one is very, very good. It happens. But
he's had some important moments as well too, hasn't he?
My word, he has. He's been it's one of those moves that when you take the player back, you wonder how he works out. But I think he played a lot of football back anyway as a junior.
We questioned a few weeks ago about the concussion protocols, and after that incident in the Port Adelaide Richmond game, well, we saw how it's designed to work there. The call comes in from the arc, and they have a look at it. Turns out that Richards wasn't right to continue, and as a result, he's been subbed out of the game. So Mitch Cleary all over it downstairs. Back in the middle, Nash tackled as soon as he grabs it, spills to Mitchell, shoots a kick to centre half forward, but the Dogs win it back. Scott, hand pass away to McComb, who's under the pump immediately. And a ball up. In fact, it's O'Brien. We'll have a ball up here, centre half forward for the Hawks. As Reeves wins it down to Warple. Kicks inside the forward 50. Newcomb just moves Dale out of the way illegally. A push in the back and a free kick for the All-Australian half-back for the Western Bulldogs.
Bailey Dale looks to bring it out to the wing. Up went Dunkley, but it's sprawled away from him. And out of play for a boundary throw-in. Hawks lead by a point after they led at quarter time by 19 points. The Dogs with 4 goals to 1 in this second term. As it's tossed back into play, Sweet sets himself in front of Reeves. A shallow throw in, straight down to O'Meara though. Turned it over, hand pass to Johannisen. To Liberatore, puts the arc in the back and gets through. Hand pass to McRae, kicks for West, who takes the mark directly in front. Couple of the key pillars getting involved there. Liberatore, McRae delivering it to West.
Well, Liberatore's been just outstanding.
Brilliant quarter, hasn't he, Mick?
It's changed the whole midfield has, and the ruckmen are now a little bit more competitive, but that gives Liberatore actually roved to Reeves in that first part of that quarter.
For so long it seemed like he might have to continue elsewhere. Riley West for his second. He misses to the right-hand side. Getting his opportunities finally in this Western Bulldogs side. And scores a level at 35 apiece. 22 minutes gone, second term.
So a 26-point advantage for the Hawks is now gone. Scores level. 22-minute mark, second term. Sicily marks the kick out from Scrimshaw. Off the back flank, sends a long drop punt down the city wing. They all run underneath it, so there's a whistle on the play and a free kick. It's going to the Bulldogs. And it's going to come back to O'Brien. I didn't catch exactly what that was for, but
I think a push, Corbs, in the marking contest.
There's a few bodies flying, but O'Brien will get the free and put it back to half forward. Sicily threw his body at it, but Scrimshaw for the Hawks takes the intercept mark.
Good mark too. Good mark in a big pack. Just kept his eyes on the football, just got in the right line.
A top 10 pick in his national draft by the Gold Coast Suns way back in 2016. Jack Scrimshaw sends his kick down the wing. Dale went without it. Butler keeps his head over the footy. His own teammate picks his pocket. Warple, short kick to Jager, who takes the mark between wing and half forward. Kicks deep. Kaczynski one-on-one with Keith. No mark. Kaczynski got a hand to it. Now he becomes tackler. Wraps up Keith. Pack forms in the forward pocket for the Hawks and a ball up. Scores level, 24 travelled second quarter.
Inside 50s, 14-9 this quarter, the way the Bulldogs after Hawthorn dominated that stat, 20-9 in the first term. Sweet wins down the tap towards Liberatore, can't take a disposal. And Nash in the end forces Treloar out of play for a boundary throw-in. Hawthorn have it deep in the right forward pocket. Having had their lead squandered. Chance to try and strike back here in time on in the second quarter. Thrown back in, Reeves and Sweet. Sweet knocks it to the front. Bounces into the path of Nash. He's tackled by Liberatore and ragdoll to the turf. Liber is just going to work tonight. And a ball up once more, still inside the forward 50.
He's been the reason for this quarter. The whole turnaround. Tom Liberatore.
Sweet works his way to the front, wins a hit out, but straight down to Kaczynski. Hand pass to Bruce, who shoots hurriedly. Misses near side and behind for Luke Bruce. It's a go-ahead score, though, in the game, so Hawthorn by 1. 5-6 to 5-5, time on second quarter. Hawks did lead by as many as 26 earlier in this second term.
Bailey Dale with the kick-in duties. Number 3 in the AFL for metres gain. That won't be one of his longer ones, but a 1-2 with Gardner, and now he's in trouble. Newcomb's got him. And you're a brave man if you want to take on the boy from Poowong.
Look at that, he had no target.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're playing like that, you've got to have something moving in front of you. All stationary. Nothing to go to, nothing to kick to.
Do you think he's going to kick this? Is this?
He's going to have a crack. Veers out to the right. He won't have the distance. It's to the corridor. Where's the chance for the Hawks? Spoiled down in front. Scott for the Bulldogs. Hand pass to Treloar. Works at the Liberatore. Wants to switch to the back left pocket. Morrison slides in front and juggles the mark. In front of McComb. He's going to square it up, and Bramble takes the mark.
Really well read by Harry Morrison. Saw the switch coming from Libba. Probably the only mistake he's made so far tonight. Tom Liberatore just telegraphed the kick a little bit too much. Morrison read it and then had the awareness to straight away look for a better shot position. Well played.
Time stood still for Robbie McComb. There was little he can do. Here's a chance for Lachlan Bramble, looking for his first goal of the season. He puts it out to the right. And another behind for the Hawks. So back-to-back behinds. They lead by 2 points. 26 minutes gone, second term.
At 11 more inside 50s, the Hawks in the opening quarter. The Dogs winning that stat by 5 in this second term. The Hawks by a couple of points on the scoreboard as Dale takes some ground and then kicks out wide to Crozier, who takes a nice mark against the boundary line city side. He goes short to Johannesson. And he's going to go all the way back to Bailey Dale, the All-Australian, in the defensive 50. And the switch is on. Gardner on the back flank. Short kick to Dunkley, who takes the mark at full stretch.
Gardner's the greatest reliable kick, but nonetheless, you can give him something inside 30. This is where the problem is, if they have to go back to him.
Yeah, he's just got to take the simple kick, doesn't he, rather than the real game-opening kick.
Well, that's why I reckon they...
So Dunkley takes the mark from... Dunkley kicks to Gardner, takes the mark, comes back out wide, touched on the way through by Bruce, got its way to Williams, who just bombs it down the wing and turns it over. Scrimshaw takes the intercept mark, half-back for Hawthorn.
There's certain players you just don't give the football to, and they know that. They don't want it, but today's game, you've got to be careful not to be able to give it to them, but find the right kicker.
It is one of the staggering parts for a side which is blessed with more midfielders than most. The Hawks through the middle of the ground. Newcomb couldn't juggle the mark. Brought down by McComb. Works it to Johannesson and now wide to Norton. Centre wing. Wants to move it quickly. Bontempelli's pushed forward. Used his body against Blank. Tries to run back onto it deep in the left forward pocket. Squares it towards Waitman. And Riley West provided a good block which took Sicily out of it. He's going to square it up.
I think Riley West is going to get the free kick.
It's coming back anyway, yes. Riley West will have it.
For the contact against James Sicily.
Yeah, good shepherding by West. It was almost touch and go whether it was actually a legal shepherd.
Yep. I thought he disguised it well. Almost looked like he was pretending to take the mark, and Sicily took him out.
Well, James Sicily's always liable to do something like that. well, it was line ball, but nonetheless.
45-degree angle, 25 metres out. Riley West has his second, and the Dogs have back the lead. In fact, that's the first time they've taken the lead. So they've had to work hard with 5 goals to 1 in this second quarter to eventually run down the Hawks' fast start. The Bulldogs by 4 points, 6-5-41 to Hawthorn 5-7-37. Approaching halftime, Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
Just a long discussion down here between about 3 or 4 Dogs medicos around Adam Treloar. He was down in the rooms for 3 or 4 minutes with a doctor and a physio. Just a long discussion. I'll keep you posted.
Riley West is just finding a little niche in this team, isn't he, Mick? Just he uses his smarts in that forward line, hunts after it, just creative enough to find a little pocket of space here and there.
I reckon he's the 6th forward. He doesn't get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
I reckon the 6th backline player is generally hanging around Norton.
Yep.
So I think he finds a bit of free space. You start kicking a few goals, that'll change.
2 last week's got 2 already tonight. We're not even at half-time. Dogs from the centre break. Bontempelli, hand pass to Lever, kicks out wide, and there he is again. West takes the mark straight back to his feet, hits up Norton. Out on a searching lead, and he marks in the forward pocket for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, that'll attract a bit of attention because that was brilliant mark. Had to go on the left and hit a leading player and take the mark by Norton because that was going like a bullet.
That was good footy, wasn't it?
Great
West,
football.
that was awareness to go quick too. And put himself under pressure, but knowing that the forward would be leading hard.
Put a headband on again tonight. It's ain't nothing but an ultra perm for Aaron Norton. He's set shot to end the half. He misses near side. A behind, but a big cheer from the Dogs fans, and rightfully so. What a comeback in that second quarter. They trailed by 26 points at the 4-minute mark of the second term, and have now rattled off the last 5 in the game. The Bulldogs lead it at half-time by 5 points. 6-6-42. Hawthorn 5-7-37. The goal kickers, 2 for Riley West, and then singles for Bontempelli, O'Brien, Norton and Johannisen. While for Hawthorn, Mitch Lewis has a couple, and then singles for Moore, Bruce and Reeves. The Hawks by 19 at quarter time. Now the Bulldogs by 5 at the half. Mick Malthouse and Cameron Ling.
Well, Lingy said one thing during the first quarter. How do you... Like the Hawks just kept on rushing the Dogs and forcing them out. And the thing you said, Lingy, was, can it be sustained? And remarkably, the Hawks have had less than half their possessions in that quarter from the first. 123 down to 50, I think it's 54. 54, is it? Or 88, is it? 80. Sorry, I've got it wrong. 80.
Sorry,
80. But only
still a big drop.
66%. So that's a massive gap in getting the football, but also the contested football fell right away. Yeah. Right away.
You can't just single one player out. It's a team effort to be able to shift the momentum that much, Mick. But we both highlighted Tom Liberatore was a major reason why that quarter completely flipped into the Dogs' favour. One, because he had the awareness and maybe it was talking with his coaches at quarter time, working it out, but he took it upon himself to be the person who got into the Ned Reeves Hawthorn hit zone. Started reading his hit and then just started winning the footy.
Yep.
And then when it was still, maybe momentum had shifted a little bit the Dogs' way, but there was 2 or 3 just crucial 50-50 balls. And that one against Jath wasn't even 50-50. It was probably 30-70 because Jath had the momentum the other way. Turned his body, won that ball, got it going his team's way. Bang, 2 goals came from Tom Liberatore. And all of a sudden the momentum has then completely flipped. And the other players started feeling good about the way they were playing. That was an amazing quarter of midfield football from Tom Liberatore.
And it's remarkably, we're going to look at it and go, well, he didn't have a lot of possessions, but it was just the impact at the right time. Yeah. And the way he got, the hard ball gets, and for like the contested footy, whatever you want to call it. I said in the first quarter that the Dogs used 30 possessions to get a score. That quarter they had 10. And sometimes that's relevant to how many possessions you get. Clearly, if you only get 10 possessions, or you get 100 possessions, it's relative. But the relatively there is the fact that they were scoring at such a rate, holding it in their front 50. So the more you hold it in your front 50, the more likely you have scoring. It was inevitable that something was going to have to go. Either the Hawks continue and the Dogs just fall away, or the Dogs go back to what they do best and give their forwards a chance, protect the back line. So I reckon their back line is pretty ordinary. So that you've got to keep the ball away from that back line, and the Dogs can do that with their midfield.
They can, because they can either win it, first of all, which is the best way to do it, or they're hunting after it enough and hunting after the ball and the opposition enough that those kicks that the Hawks were now getting into their forward 50 are quite shallow, nothingy type entries.
That's right.
And then Bailey Dale and Caleb Daniel get involved. And then the couple of strong parts of their back line are those nice ball users, creative runners off half back. But they can only join in when
it's on their terms.
Yeah, when the kick inside 50 for the opposition is under enormous pressure. And that comes back to the hunt of the midfield. Yeah, and the hunt was there, and it was led by Libba. And it was an impressive quarter of footy. The forward line, for me, Riley West was excellent, kicked 2 goals and set up another shot there. It's still not firing on all cylinders.
No.
As good a quarter as they were there, kicking 5 goals, the ball coming in long, it seems still to be Norton or bust.
Yeah. Can I have to bite my tongue and say they need Bruce back in their side? They do need him back. Because
he suffered an injury in the VFL as well, so he might be a couple still away. He played his first game back last week.
A little bit of a
calf tightness training during the week.
One of them was tight, so and that's almost predictable from a knee. So you get it depends what they've used. Have they used a patella, or they haven't used a hamstring? If you use the hamstring, sometimes they get a bit of tightness there, because the hamstring's now been it's been used. Part of it's been used for the reconstruction. So it's a shame, because when you look at the draw, they will need to have that other forward to come in and take a bit of heat. Norton's good. In fact, I don't say he's great, but he's very, very good. But he does need an assister in the air, and it can't be Waitman. Cannot be Waitman. Waitman's a ground player. West's a ground player. Johansson's a ground player. So that's the sort of player they need.
Ugle-Hagen's still finding his feet and finding his way, his competitiveness, his body strength and everything. In his control in the air, I think he just doesn't have that strength in the air that you can get away with at under 18 level, then you can get away with at VFL level. He's still finding. Cody Waitman, I think, is probably suffering from being so incredibly brave last week, but the adrenaline's racing when you're playing, and you're like, no, I'm right, I'm good to go, to then have it cool down, go back through the recovery process, the rehab process, and try and come up again the following week is different to being able to continue with it the week before when it happens in-game. And he just can't get his way into the game at the moment, but he's a clever forward who might find one or two goals from one or two chances and impact the game still.
The SMS number is 0437 774 774 if you'd like to get in touch with Mick or Lingy. Would love to hear from you what you're up to tonight. First leg of a double-header. Coming up next, it is West Coast and Essendon. There is no late change over in Perth. Alex Witherden is the sub for the Eagles and Braden Hand for the Bombers. So that starts in about 25 minutes from now. We will take you there for the second half, so you'll hear it right here on ABC Radio later tonight. Half-time here at Docklands. It's the Dogs by 5 points on the back of a dominant second quarter. At half-time, the Dogs by 5. On ABC Radio, News Radio and Sport Digital, let's see what's happening in the ABC newsroom.
ABC News with Glenn Lauder. The Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles has arrived in Rwanda for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. The summit brings together leaders and representatives from all 54 Commonwealth nations to discuss issues of cross-country significance and to orchestrate common policies. He'll take part in sessions with other Commonwealth leaders where climate change and environmental issues are expected to be on the agenda. The Chief of the Defence Force has rejected the idea of giving legal protection to personnel providing evidence to the Royal Commission into defence and veteran suicide. Jade Toomey has the story.
General Angus Campbell appeared before the Townsville hearings this week. Today, the Commission heard concerns that some current serving personnel and veterans might be reluctant to give evidence out of fear of getting into trouble for revealing sensitive information. General Campbell said he strongly encouraged members to give evidence, but he dismissed the idea that he should provide a directive that would protect witnesses coming forward. He said it was a matter of national security that some information remained classified, but he promised there would be no consequences for members speaking to the Royal Commission.
The Pharmacy Guild of Australia is warning COVID antiviral drugs are expiring on the shelves because PBS subsidies are too limited. Guild President Anthony Tassoni says the drugs are highly effective at reducing COVID symptoms, but can cost around $1,000 a box. He says the eligibility for a pharmaceutical benefit scheme subsidy needs to be broadened so that more of the thousands of people catching COVID every day have a better chance of a quick recovery.
So the more we can do to treat the infection sooner, get on top of it to help patients recover more quickly, surely that will help patients in their recovery and reduce those long-term effects potentially as well, but also make sure we reduce hospitalisation and death.
Retiring Victorian Cabinet Minister Martin Pakula says he's leaving politics because he no longer wants to be a politician. Mr Pakula's joined the Health Minister Martin Foley, the Deputy Premier James Merlino and the Police Minister Lisa Neville in announcing they're standing down ahead of November's state election. Mr Pakula holds a number of portfolios, including Minister for Tourism, Sport and Major Events and Minister for Industry Support and Recovery. He says he wants to do other things.
It sounds trite, it sounds really basic, but I just don't want to be a politician anymore. You know, I've done it for a long time, and I think we need to think about the way we talk about these things. I've been in Parliament for 16 years. I spent 13 years before that as a trade union official. And if you did that in any other walk of life, people would say that's more than enough time.
Heading overseas, and the chair of the Conservative Party in the UK has resigned following disastrous results for the government in 2 by-elections. Oliver Dowden says someone must take responsibility for the outcome in the electorates of Wakefield in Yorkshire and in the traditionally safe Tory seat of Tiverton and Honiton in the southwest, which saw a swing of more than 30% to the Liberal Democrats. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has himself been under intense pressure to quit after he was fined for breaking COVID lockdown rules, and until now, Mr Dowden had been a strong supporter of the Prime Minister. The death toll from the devastating earthquake which struck southern Afghanistan this week has risen to more than 1,100. Tom Major reports.
The tragedy continues to unfold in Paktika province on the border with Pakistan as scores of aid teams struggle to reach remote communities. The magnitude 6.1 quake has also left thousands without shelter, with close to 3,000 homes destroyed or badly damaged. Aid organisations, including the local Red Crescent and the UN's World Food Programme, have stepped in to assist the most vulnerable families. They're providing food and other emergency needs, such as tents and sleeping mats in Paktika and neighbouring Horst province.
Updating sports news, and Collingwood's Jordan De Goey spoken for the first time since he was reprimanded for his antics on a mid-season break in Bali. The 26-year-old has taken personal leave from the club after footage emerged showing him making crude gestures and exposing a woman's breast in a Bali nightclub. The Magpies handed De Goey a suspended $25,000 fine for being disrespectful to women and ordered him to undertake more counselling. In a video released by the club, De Goey says that he's sorry for how he behaved.
I've got a lot of important women in my life, and I understand you need to show respect to women at all times. I've got a responsibility to the wider community, and I need to keep working towards that.
You've been listening to the latest ABC News.
On the 1st of July, 90 years ago, ABC Radio crackled to life.
This is the ABC.
On the 1st of July this year, celebrate with us as we take a journey through the years.
And our first broadcast was from studios originally the dressing room.
And this is the Coming Out Ready or Not show.
Oh,
yes,
thanks very much indeed.
Happy to hear from you as well. The open line is coming your way.
Tuned in, 90 years of ABC Radio.
Oh, wow, we're away.
11 a.m. on Friday, July the 1st, right here on ABC Radio.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL. On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Liberatore scraps at Mitchell, could have got him high. Libber's got the footy, play on, there's no whistle. Long towards Ugle-Hagan, up with the flight. Norton over the top, takes the mark. Looking for his first goal of the night. Aaron Norton cruises in and gives the Western Bulldogs their second.
Libber protects the footy and wins it. Hand pass to the Bonner. Shares it with Trelaw. Sweeping hand pass to Johannesson. 60 out. Looks for Norton. Blank gets back. Spoils it. But straight onto the boot of West. And the son of the West bangs it through on the volley.
Sicily, he's chipped. Sent Newcombe a task. Half volley. Couldn't gather. Norton gets it. Hand pass to Daniel. Tim O'Brien's on. He marks in the left forward pocket. Tim O'Brien, predominantly in defence this season, left forward pocket, 35 metres out, you betcha. Taken by Crozier on his chest for the Dogs, hand pass to Scott, pulls his kick looking for Norton, CJ in front, spoiled it down, straight to McRae, hand pass to Bontempelli, left forward pocket, you beauty.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Sounds there at the second quarter, a dominant one from the Western Bulldogs. They kicked 5 goals to 1 in the term, and after being 26 points down at the 4-minute mark of the second quarter, they lead it by 5 at the half. Corbin Middlemass, Matt Clinch in commentary, Mitch Cleary on the boundary for us, one of the best newsbreakers in footy, Cameron Ling and Mick Moldhouse, as always, every Friday night in Melbourne. We've got 2 Friday night games, so it's been built up as the greatest round of all time with all these close matchups, the top 8 all playing one another and the bottom 10 teams all pitted against one another, including tonight's matchup between the Bulldogs and the Hawks. But we also have a Friday night double header, so still a game to come between Essendon and West Coast. Down to the balls in about 20 minutes from now. The team says no late change. Witherden in the sub for West Coast and Ham for Essendon. We'll take you to the second half action of that game on ABC Radio tonight. If you want to listen to it from the start, you can do so through the AFL app. Go to the Match Centre and look out for the ABC icon. Mitch Cleary's in the box with us for now. Mitch, you broke the story earlier today that Mitch Lewis has signed a new contract with the Hawks, so he's going to be sticking around.
A 4-year deal. It takes him to the age of 27, 28 with the Hawthorn Footy Club. 2 years would have taken him to free agency, so it's a big show of faith that he's gone beyond free agency, what a lot of players do these days. As part of that chat on 7 News tonight, he spoke about his new hand therapist he's got this year, Corbin. So, assistant coach of the Hawks is Andy Otten, former Crow. His former teammate at Adelaide was Jason Porpleasure, the porpoise. He used to use a hand therapist to build hand strength. You remember Jason Porpleasure, one of the best players above his head for his size. Now, Mitch Lewis at the start of the season heard this from Andy Otten and said, how do I replicate this? He's turned to a hand therapist.
No.
Essentially what he does is he gets putty in his hand, so that he rolls a ball with putty and then shapes it in his hand to build hand strength. He has it in his car, so when he's at the lights or driving around, he'll use putty in his hands, and he thinks that it's helped him take contested marks. Lingy, have you ever heard of anything like this?
I haven't heard of a hand therapist doing it, no, but I have heard of strengthening of the grip and grip strength and hand. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And he's playing superb football and a good contested mark. Do you need a hand therapist to tell you to just grab a tennis ball or some putty to squeeze? What else is the hand therapist doing other than saying have some putty?
It's all in the mind. It's Hamish Anderson. He is part-time with the Hawks, so he does do a lot of other things in terms of finger injuries and dealing with wrists and those sorts of things. But Mitch Lewis thinks it's part of his special blend that's helped him get to the form this year. Wow. Just on tonight, we saw Adam Treloar go to the bench late in that second quarter, spoke with 3 or 4 physios. He did point to his groin region just before the break, so keen to see how he comes out after half-time and if indeed he does get any more treatment on that groin.
What do you think the crowd is tonight, Mitch? It was sort of estimated around 30,000, so normally 7:50 start for a Friday night, and we've always argued, could you start it just that little bit earlier? Don't think the crowd's been deterred by the early start.
Hasn't been affected. When I arrived at about 6:45, there was still long lines out there. I reckon we're looking at 35,000, 37,000 on the judging, which is pretty good for the Western Bulldogs and the Hawthorn crowd as the away team that doesn't tend to like travelling to Docklands all too often, given their home venue is the MCG.
We need the TV broadcasters get on board, Mitch. Come on, get this earlier start on Friday night.
I wouldn't like the second game to be starting now and overlap into half-time, but it is all built around the West, as Corbin would know. Mick spent a lot of time, obviously, there. The people in WA, all they tell me ever is that they hate getting to the footy too early, given it's the 6:40 it starts tonight local time. That's probably still too early for them.
Yeah, it's much more respectable than trying to race there for a 5:40 start, which we used to have to do back in the day. The Friday night doubleheaders, Mick, you remember, you would have been coaching West Coast at a time when the WACA, a lot of people wouldn't remember this, Subiaco Oval never actually used to have lights. So the night games had to be played at the WACA ground, which is the cricket ground, and they would have proper doubleheaders where the games in Perth would start almost at 8 o'clock. After a Melbourne game would start at a similar time, and they'd roll 8 quarters essentially one after the other.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. The night games were at the WACA. You know, one of the most amazing night games I go into the ground, bumped into these people, and they said, we're from Melbourne, if we take a photograph, blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, actually, shouldn't have to be the cameras, whatever it was, meet your son, blah, blah, blah. Got in there, thought, playing the Dogs, this is all right. Married up reasonably well against them. Quarter time, 8 goals to none. They were 8 goals, we were none. Half-time score, 8 each.
Yep.
8 each and no wind. It was remarkable. Yep. It's one of those games where I've never, ever coached to go, look, you know, when you coach, you go, boys, we've just got to chip away. You know, like, if we get a couple back, you know, 5 or 6 down, well, you know, then we can eat into
8.
Little did I realise we're going to be level at half-time.
Women's Origin is on at the moment, so it is representative weekend in the NRL. They've got their international games tomorrow, Origin for the men on Sunday at Perth Stadium. Tonight it's the women's turn in Canberra, and it's half-time. So half-time score there, New South Wales 14 leading Queensland at 10. So that's Women's Origin tonight. And we had the NBA draft, Lingy, which I know you've been following earlier today, and a couple of Australians went. So Luke Travers, the WA boy, he was picked up by Cleveland at pick 56, but the headline act is Dyson Daniels, who went number 8 overall, a Bendigo teenager to the New Orleans Pelicans.
And that is an exciting team to join for him. They had a little moment in the playoffs. He might do some cool things if Zion gets going with him, so that'll be good. Can I just throw my 2 cents in with the time?
Yes.
I want the earlier time on Friday nights, please.
Yes. For those people going back down the highway.
Oh, yes.
You've been selfish.
Yeah, I don't care if I am. I reckon I've got the numbers. I reckon a lot of the listeners have been saying the same thing.
I think you're spot on. Why do we have it so late?
We'll get to some of those messages throughout the second half. Dogs by 5 points on Grandstand AFL. Here's Matt Clinch.
Bounce to get things underway. Reeves up against Sweet. Sweet wins down the tap, follows up his ruck work. Left it for Bontempelli in the end. Blazes away inside 50. Waitman back with the flight courageously. Cleaned up by Scrimshaw. Then Hardwick becomes the tackler on West. West rips it away at the top of the 50. Hand pass over the head of Ugelhagen. Can't pull it in with one hand. Still a chance for the Dogs. Treloar with a hand pass to Dunkley off the outside of the boot. It'll land near Norton and also McNeil, who brought it down. Hand pass to Bontempelli to Daniel just inside 50 as he got the journey towards Waitman on the behind line. He has a fly. So clearly the elbow's okay. Maybe Luke Beveridge gave him a jeer up at half-time. Bulldogs by 6 points.
Well, he's been okay. He's tried hard. It's just that he just looks like he lacks just that slight little bit of confidence in his arm.
Scrimshaw into Jath, and Jath goes short to Howe, who marks at half-back. Bulldogs by 5 points as the long kick heads down the wing. No mark for Butler. Spills its way to O'Brien, who's running out of room. And as he gets a kick away, it balloons over the boundary line and out on the full. Just a correction, given that last score. It's a 6-point game. The Dogs lead at 6-7 to 5-7. And now there's a conference as to whether this was already out of play or not. And the field umpire is going to say, no, we're going to spin this in. So we're going to have a boundary throw-in on the City wing rather than a Hawthorn free kick. 90 seconds travelled, third term. Dogs by a goal.
Toss back into play. Reeves and Sweet resume their battle in a tangle. It comes down the way of McRae. Out past to Bontempelli through CJ, but couldn't get around. A good tackle in the end from Butler. It comes to Ugelhagen. He kicks inside 50 and well set. Scrimshaw has the size difference against Johannesson and takes the mark. Left back pocket, not a great kick. Jaff had to try and mark on his chest and then slides in down low against McNeil. A chance for Bontempelli, who cruises to right half forward. Sicily in front, spoiled by West. Down at ground level, Scrimshaw works it back to Jarman Impey. Has options in the corridor, spots it up to Newcomb.
Newcomb kicks all the way to Butler, who takes the mark on the wing. Sweeping hand pass to Moore. They're over halfway, the Hawks. Kicks into an open forward 50. Lewis, sprawling mark. Dropping to his knees and hugs it to his chest, and Mitch Lewis can shoot on a 45-degree angle from around 50 out, and he gets up a little sore.
Yeah, that's one of those ones. It was a terrific mark, but it's one where his knees really hit the ground hard.
This is why they
maybe jarred it a little.
This is how they score, Lingy. This is on the fast break. It's a slingshot from the back line where the Dogs are trailing all their players in, and as a consequence, the back line are under one-on-one pressure. And again, they're just not quite. I don't think they're quite good enough.
So Mitch Lewis, as he walks in with a slight hitch in his giddy up, his set shot sails goalward, but he misses to the near side of behind. 5-8 to 6-7. Dogs by 5 points. 3 minutes played, third term. Grandstand AFL.
That's a simple play. Caleb Daniel to Bailey Dale, and Dale launches it. We're at the wing already. That's too easy from the Hawks. That's an obvious play.
Up towards Ugelhagen, who just can't complete the mark as Jarman Impey rises and spoils it out of play. Don't know if you heard Mitch Cleary's story, Mick, at halftime about a hand therapist for Mitch Lewis. It's been part of his apparently improvement this year.
To strengthen his grip, his hand strength with the contested marks.
Judging by your surprise, you haven't heard that before either.
You know, it's funny enough, 1972, Alan Davis invented this little, I'd say, contraption, and he gave me one. It was something he was going to use, and it's to do it with all arm and hand strengths. So it was 1972.
50 years ago.
They haven't embraced it since then.
Yeah.
Because it's hard work. You do something, you can't sell it.
Absolutely. Today's generation. Impey kicks inside the 50 for the Hawks. Mitch Lewis brought it down on cue. But McComb for the Dogs works it out to Treloar. Has it left half back. Swings back onto his right. Long kick towards Chamara. Nudged underneath. Blake from behind. Takes the mark. Or, in fact, Ugelhagen in front is given the benefit of the doubt.
Good on him. Look, he has really thrown himself about, and he's been putting himself in the right position. He missed one just before that, and that's a reward of getting in front.
Jamara goes short and wide out to West. He kicked 2 in the first half. He kicked 2 last week against the Giants. playing the best footy of his career. Kicks to the hot spot. Norton went flying for the footy. There's a free kick, but it's going against the Dogs. And an illegal blocking on James Sicily, so takes the free for Hawthorn. He goes short to Hardwick. Hardwick chips it up to half-back. This is Daniel Howe. Pokes his pass down the wing. Wanted Butler, but Dale drops in the hole and punches it back into row 10. We'll have a boundary throw in on the City wing.
I'd like to see how that Norton one went. I thought Norton was the one that was bumped out of the play.
Here we go. We got to look at the replay. Just got a little bump on the way through from McNeil, who's playing in defence after Richards was subbed out in the first half.
Sweet goes up uncontested in the ruck battle. Yeah, it was a Shepherd, and he's going to get the free kick. In fact, Bontempelli takes it, kicks inside 50. Here's Jamara. Great lead-up mark and an impressive contested grab.
Well, that confidence has come about because he's a tackle on it just before half-time. He just missed one before half-time. In fact, it was taken out of his hands by Norton.
Yeah.
And he's now getting himself in really good position. Missed one on the wing here, was knocked out of his hand, then he took the other one. I just think that he's just starting to find where the ball is coming in a bit quicker than it does in VFL and finding the right spot.
James Blank on debut was right alongside him, but there was little he could do. Let's see how his ball drop is this time. Jamara out to the right, kicks from just inside 50 and misses to the right-hand side. So the Bulldogs leading by 6 points, 6 minutes gone, third term on ABC Sport.
Hardwick plays on from the kick out, goes short to Impey, it's not 15. Hurried hand pass to McDonald, got it away under pressure to Hardwick. Hand pass to Sicily, and he just jams it on the boot with a kick which almost hit the roof out towards the broadcast wing. Spills down to Butler, just tumbles a kick up into the front half of the Hawks, but it's not pretty. Moore out to meet it, tackled by Crozier. And a ball up on the wing, Dock side. Dogs lead it by 6. Chucked in the air, 7 minutes into the third term. Nash wins it down, but Treloar, hand pass to Libba, slick hands to Dunkley, now out to McRae, sends it along the boundary line. Jager picks it off for Hawthorn, bangs it back in the other direction. Kazitsky can't mark, just still tracking the footy. O'Brien wins it back for the Bulldogs.
Hand pass to Williams, trying to link up with Scott, lost it. O'Brien can't take it. In goes Newcomb, he's tackled by a couple of Bulldogs. And that's where play will come to a halt. Liam Shields comes to the bench rather ginger. We'll get Mitch to keep an eye on that. As the umpire throws it up just a couple of feet inside the boundary line. Nash doing the rucking there. In the end, it's taken out of play by Bailey Williams for a boundary throw-in. Bulldogs by 6 points off the back of kicking the last 5 goals of the opening half. Hawthorn led by 26 at one stage early in the second. Mitch.
Yeah, Liam Shields just pointing to the left side of his neck, getting some treatment from the doctor. Looks in a little bit of pain. I'll keep you posted.
Bulldogs by 6. We're going to have a secondary stoppage here. Another ball up on the wing.
The Dogs have got the extra at the stoppage and they're prepared to see if they can negate that ruck work, and they've done it very well.
Up it goes. Treloar, first clean possession. Hand pass to Liberatore. Tackle, dispossessed. Bramble dumped by Bontempelli. Comes back to Libba. Surge kick to centre half forward. Norton can't trap it. Leaping up, Johannesson rips it down for the Bulldogs. Hand pass to Norton. Gives it to Dunkley. Shoots goalward. Dunkley's kicked it. Dunkley pops it through on the run, and the Bulldogs are out by 2 goals. Their biggest lead of the night comes at the 9-minute mark of the third term. The Dogs 7-8-50. Hawthorn 5-8-38. And after trailing by 26 points in the second quarter, the Dogs have kicked the last 6 in the game unanswered. Cameron Ling and Mick Moldhouse on ABC Radio.
And it comes from Libba again. First one he got caught. Nice tackle, good strong tackle, ball spills out. And then he doesn't hesitate. He's back hunting it again. Hawthorn player who just tackled him is maybe half a second behind him in realising I've got to go and hunt the ball again. Libba gets it, he wins it, he bangs it forward, and away they go and they kick the goal.
16-7 contested ball already.
Yeah.
And it's just a complete, great difference between what used to be in that first quarter compared to now.
Mick Moldhouse and Cameron Ling with you on Friday Night Footy. Reeves wins down the tap, but it's Liberatore once more with the clearance. Kicks towards the 50. Johannesson, great mark. Lunging down low to his left against Jarman Impey, and he was able to hang on to the mark.
They're good for this too. He can go the distance. It's whether he lays it off. You've got 2 players right, and he could go either way.
He'll kick from just outside 50, but pretty much directly in front, which will allow him to wind up and have full fluency as he strikes the ball. Has one goal already tonight. A chance for a second for JJ. Johannesson veers out to the right, gets underneath it a little, but steers it straight. Has it got the journey? It does. Clears the goal line for his second. And all of a sudden, the Bulldogs have kicked the last 7 unanswered, and they're out by 18 points. 8-8-56 to the Hawks, 5-8-38. That's a couple of goals in a couple of minutes in this third term.
And it's the contest in the middle of the ground. It's the clearances. It's where, pre-game, we thought the Dogs would have the advantage. And somehow, whether it was the Dogs being asleep or just all-out effort from the Hawks, the first quarter, Hawthorn dominated that area. But ever since quarter time, the Dogs have really smashed them through the middle part of the ground in the contest. And sometimes it's even the repeat stoppage or the repeat contest where the ball just dribbles out 5 or so metres and the next player in is a Bulldogs player. They are on top completely in that area in this third term, and now the entries are coming. Now the opportunities for the Dogs forwards to get on the end of a few and pile on a couple of goals.
Lingy, I don't think there's one Hawthorn player in the first 8 midfielders. Sorry, they're all Hawthorn players other than the midfield.
Both rucks miss it in the middle, and now we've got a ball up at the feet of the ruckman. Liberatore locked up.
So it tells you that they're either getting, well, they are getting slaughtered.
Yeah.
Sweet palms it down. G. Mitchell coat-angered. And the tackle from Liberatore will get the free kick. Amazing record on Hawthorn. Been there 6 years, 3 best and fairest in that time. Tom Mitchell kicks to centre half forward, and McDonald flies uncontested. Chase takes a chest mark at centre half forward for the Hawks.
Yeah, good call, Corby. Uncontested. The dog. That's the trouble with the Dogs. They guard ground. They hesitate. They think someone else is going to do the job for them, and then it's all too late. That ball travels pretty quickly through the air.
He's had a good night too. Connor McDonald, one of the 5 inclusions for Hawthorn. The teenager moves in. His set shot is wild out to the right. From straight in front, it's a poor finish. Hawthorn 5-9. The Western Bulldogs are 8-8, so the Dogs by 17 points, 13 played in this third quarter.
Bailey Dale bounds out of defence, looking for options as he drives a long kick to the wing. Not sure if it's going to get to McNeil, charging the other direction courageously was Morrison. Eventually he does gather, kicks up towards Shamara Ugelhagen, another good mark. Turns onto his left, kicks for Treloar, hung in the air a moment too long, allowed Nash to squeeze in. Couldn't spin out of traffic though, pinched by Treloar, hand pass to Liberatore, forward to Bailey Williams, jams onto the boot, he got a shove as he got his kick away. It was enough to put him off balance and send it to the left. The Western Bulldogs leading by 17 points, 18 points.
So these little moments from Jamara Ugelhagen is why we've all been saying just play him. Just let him build in. His body's not quite there. His competitiveness has just got an edge to a level to go to. But now he's starting to realise where he's got to work to and how hard he's got to work to win these balls.
Hawks in a slow play out at half-back. Mitchell just kicks a bomb up to the wing. On hands and knees, Dunkley extracts it. Hand pass away to his mate Treloar. Links up with Daniel on the City wing. Kicks inside 50. Shackey. And a mark in front of Scrimshaw. And Josh Shackey's got it wide out at right half forward.
Well, he's good for this on that leg. He's good for this. And he's one of the things, the foundation of his game used to be marking and goal kicking.
Yeah, his set shot goal kicking has always been a strength, hasn't it?
Yeah.
He's one of 10 lefties in this Western Bulldogs team. They've got as many as any side in the competition, the Western Bulldogs. And to favour his left leg from right half forward, Shackey set shot, fades late. Through for a behind. 8-10 to 5-9. The Dogs by 19 points, a new high water mark, 14 minutes into the third term.
Hardwick dashes out of defence, long kick up towards Kazitsky, spoiled away by Crozier. Front and centre, Warpool tried to draw the hand pass back to Bruce, missed him, toe pokes it towards the boundary line. In fact, it was Shields under the pressure of Williams, and it goes out of play.
Look away hand passes. If anything drives me nuts, it's look away hand passes, because the teammate thinks otherwise. He doesn't know it's coming to him.
Shout out to Kevin in Myrtleford enjoying the call. Dogs kicking away. Nice to have you with us, Kevin.
Toss back in. Sweet took it out of the ruck. Hand pass to Scott. Kicks towards Riley West. Can't take the one-handed mark. Clears to the back. Shackey on the right boot this time. Snaps truly. And the run continues for the Western Bulldogs. The last 8 goals in the match. And they are pulling away from the Hawks. 9-10-64 to Hawthorn 5-9-39. The Western Bulldogs by 25 points.
We're just starting to see more and more moments of Riley West, that footy smarts that must run in those bloodlines. His dad just knew where the footy was at all times. I played on him so many times, and you think, I've got him covered here. He's not going to get this. And then, Scotty's got it again. That little tap then from Riley West is just, you can't teach that. That is footy smarts, awareness of positioning of teammates, awareness of flow of the game. Where if he takes possession, I reckon he gets tackled and it's a stoppage and everyone's set up. Instead, just a little tap on to Shackey. Fantastic team play. Gee, Scotty West could find the footy.
25 points, the Bulldogs lead. 8 in a row, as Clinchy mentioned. And again, the Dogs out of the middle. Libba, hand pass to the Bont. Kicks wide for Waitman. Fisted away by Hardwick. Great contest. Spills down to Jager. Hand pass to Howe with the Hawks. His kick ends up straight with the Bont. Bont tries to put it inside 50. Smothered by Jaff. Bontempelli gets a second go. Drives it to the top of the goal square. Shackey reaching for it. No mark. Dunkley puts his head over it. Shoots goalward. Missed everything. There's a free kick. It's coming back.
Yeah, high contact.
And there's
going to Dunkley, I think.
Going to be a free for Dunkley, and the Dogs will get another look at it here in the forward pocket.
I reckon Shackey was stiff. That was almost put that ball to the ground.
Oh, there wasn't on that. Jack Scrimshaw got him high as he had his head over the footy. That's a lucky free.
I'm with you, Mick. I think they missed the first one.
Well, he had the mark and it was stripped out of his hands.
That's a make-up call, and now Dunkley, after blowing his first shot, he's going to get a gift and a second look at it. Dunkley hooking across the body, make it 9 in a row. And the Dogs are off the leash. And they're out by 31 points, which is a game high, after trailing by 26 points early in the second term. 17 played in the third, the Bulldogs by 31.
Well, it's quite amazing. Game of football these days is just simply amazing that you can't... How can a side stop a run of 9 when you've kicked 5 or 6? In fact, you've kicked the 6th one early in the second quarter. So from there, you haven't scored a goal. It's the 5th one early in the second quarter.
Having kicked 5 of the first 6, you won't kick another one.
And how do you you've got a dominant ruckman? You had a dominant ruckman. Now he's been read like a book now, so they're just all over him. He has to change his angles because the Dogs are just cleaning up on. They must have 2 ruckmen out there, the Dogs.
And to follow up your earlier stat, Mick, they've kicked 4 goals from 54 disposals. So work that out as Liberatore extracts the footy once more for the Dogs. Kicks towards half forward. Dunkley with a hand pass back to Williams. Gets it to McRae. Screws it back looking for Waitman. Well set in front was Hardwick. He takes the mark for the Hawks. Turns and kicks back inside the defensive 50. Morrison under pressure. McComb brought it down. Impey tries to scrap forward and lock it in. Over the top of Riley West, and I think he's done enough as the umpire circles, and we'll ball it up 30 metres out from the Dogs' goal.
And I'll give you something about just how simple footy is. Plus 29 in contested possession since quarter time.
Right.
The Dogs.
Up it goes, forward 50 for the Dogs. Reeves palms it down. Bontempelli missed it. Spills to Scrimshaw, tumbles a kick out of defensive 50, but it's coming back. Daniel intercepts out wide at half forward, kicks into the pocket, but Scrimshaw takes the intercept mark for the Hawks.
It's hard to find a winner from the Hawks at this moment. They're all over the Dogs early. Now you're struggling to find, from Reeves to Sicily to Hardwick to these places. They're just not consistent at the moment.
No one ran at Sicily, ignored Nash, and then had to drive a kick up towards the wing. Butler brought it down. Crozier, though, for the Dogs. Hand pass to Johannesson, to Williams. Keith couldn't take it cleanly, sliding in Shields. He had contact below the knees, and rather than taking the advantage, the ball will come back to between wing and half back for the Hawks. 2 behinds Hawthorn in this third term, with the Dogs 4-4, but the inside 50s 12-4 the way of the Western Bulldogs. They have dominated proceedings. Hardwick back inside the defensive 50 for Sicily. Out to Bramble, who has a dash, trying to find a way forward. Hand passes it to Howe, wanted to give it back to Bramble. Now retreats back to Sicily. It's all slow as he chips it wide to Scrimshaw at left half back.
Sicily's having one of his strange games. It's like he wants to look as though he's doing everything super easy rather than actually really dynamically taking the ball forward. It's a weird game.
Scrimshaw to Jath, who's off and running. 3 bounces across the half-back line. Liver closing down.
Liver.
Forces the turnover. He kicks it straight to Keith. And the Dogs win it back in their defensive half. Keith short to Daniel. Daniel chips it to Williams. And Marks on the wing, Dock side. Bulldogs by 31 points, having trailed by as many as 26. And Williams will come back out to Alex Keith, who becomes the 252nd player in the Bulldogs' long history to have played 50 games for the club tonight. So he's 80th overall, but his 50th for the Bulldogs after starting his career with the Crows. He goes back to Gardner, and Gardner chips it to centre half back for McRae.
No one on the mark, so the crowd kind of jeers him to move it forward. Kicks towards Riley West, who takes the mark at right half forward. His confidence growing. Kicks to Shackey. Couple of Dogs who are sky high at the moment. And Shackey slides in and takes the mark. And he'll line up pretty much on a 45-degree angle from 35 metres out.
So first quarter, Hawthorn covered the corridor very well and allowed the Dogs a lot of room outside, which they were held up. Now the Dogs are going back outside. The Hawks are not moving out with them, so therefore they're able to get so much more meterage from their 3 or 4 possessions.
The former pick 2, Josh Shackey for his second, and to continue the onslaught. More of that, says the Western Bulldogs fans, as they've now kicked, what are we up to, 10 double digits, the last 10 goals of the match. The Bulldogs all of a sudden lead by 37 points, 11-10-76 to the Hawks 5-9-39. Josh Shackey with his second at the 21-minute mark of the third term.
Mick, you mentioned earlier that Riley West, teams will start paying attention to him. Hawthorn haven't adjusted mid-game because you're right, they're the sixth, let's call him the 6th forward, so the 6th defender is thinking, I'm going to keep coming off to try and get to a Norton or whoever it might be.
Or a Waitman,
yeah, but right now, Riley West is causing that much trouble that they've actually got to adjust, and whoever his defender is has to play on him.
Yeah. He's like the 5th Beatle at the moment. Everyone's forgotten him.
Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
Marcus Bontempelli, right boot off, getting his ankle restrapped. It's the same side that he missed a game with earlier this year.
Thanks, Mitch. We'll come back to you for an update in a moment as Jager has his pocket picked. O'Brien through the hands of Treloar to Daniel, and now a hand pass to Scott. Off and running off the back flank. He kicks it down to half forward. Norton trying to leap over the pack. Got a nudge on the way through. No whistle. Spills to Jath. Hand pass to Scrimshaw. Goes back to Newcombe for the Hawks. Gives it to Impey, who's under the pump. Norton back on it. Tackled, dispossessed, and in the end, Newcombe happy to push it over the boundary line. It bounced off a Bulldog. And the boundary umpire and field umpire are happy for that to be a throw-in. So deep forward for the Bulldogs. They've kicked 10 in a row. They lead it by 37 points, 23 played in the third.
Hawks' last goal came at the 2-minute mark of the second term. It was through Ned Reeves. Wins down the tap, gathers, ran into a dead end as Riley West lays the tackle. And a ball up 35 metres out from the Dogs' goal.
Essendon 2-2 to West Coast 1-1. Bombers by 7, 11 minutes in Perth.
Shackey having a run in the ruck. Inside the Dogs, forward 50 against Reeves. It bubbles around. Waitman trying to knock it on. Dunkley slides in. Sicily tackled by Shackey. And the umpire will ball it up.
Keep a shack attack just threatening to take over the game in the third here.
Yeah.
What do you reckon the conversation with Cody Waitman would have been at half-time, do you think?
Just keep presenting, keep throwing yourself into a situation where the ball is. Be there and mark it, foot of the marking contest or putting pressure on. Just keep presenting.
Oh, yes, just continue to do that as Bramble kicks up to the wings. Sweet was taken over the shoulder. He'll take the free.
It's the life of a small forward. You can keep being in the same spot, same effort, and you can kick 5 goals 1 week and a half a footy, or you can go goalless for a whole game.
Sweet to Norton, couldn't take the mark, follows up, lays a huge tackle on Sicily. Dogs put it inside 50 through West. McComb can walk it in, make it 11 in a row for the Bulldogs. And it's on down here between Sicily and Norton, involved in a melee as they rip at each other's jumpers. And Sicily wasn't happy to get caught, but Aaron Norton beat him hands down there and a goal resulted from it. The Bulldogs are out by 43 points. Time on third term, Mick Moldhouse, Cameron Ling.
Oh, and it's still going. What did Norton do? Because there's more players going to him.
All Norton did was run down Sicily and essentially win the footy.
Oh, Sicily's just pole-driven Marcus Bontempelli. He ripped the headband off Norton, and then Bontempelli came in. Sicily saw him coming, and he flipped him, and it's on again.
You know it's serious when the emergency umpire in the tracksuit pants is out there. So both teams trying to be separated. It's the Bulldogs forward 50, and that's where all the action's happened. They've kicked 6 goals in this quarter. They've kicked the last 11 in the game.
Yep.
And after trailing by 26 points in the second term, the Dogs lead it by 43.
Well, as captain of the side, Sicily, this is where you take some charge, because no side is 11 goal straight better. I don't care whether you're North Melbourne, West Coast, from the bottom to the top side, you are not 11 goals. There's something structurally got to take place. Someone's got to stand up. You've got to become disciplined, slow the game down, quick the game, do something.
Aaron Norton claiming that James Sicily pulled his hair.
Yeah, he did.
There you go.
So Alani Gupta's the emergency umpire out there. The Hawks do get a response as O'Meara gets the clearance. Hand pass to Newcomb, to Tom Mitchell inside 50. Up Kaczynski, spoiled it down. The Dogs are well set though as Scott punches it back to the last line. Gardner has enough time to gather. Kicks towards Williams, who shoves Howe underneath it illegally.
Silly free kick, really silly free kick. Just had to nestle in on his shoulder. Took the body.
Short to Tom Mitchell, who marks on a 45-degree angle. They have to kick 45 metres.
Hawthorn have had 2 set shots that I think about that could have gone through. So we'd have broken that. But this is the one, when they start playing top sides and you start to see these little 20-metre chips, this is where the Dogs let themselves down totally. They don't look at the kicker. They look at the ground. The kicker's eyes are where he's generally going to kick the football to, and found a very easy target in Mitchell.
Some old coaches would say if you can't do anything, start a fight, and the Hawks have done that. And Tom Mitchell can't finish. Misses to the right. He got the distance. That was the credit to him. But the Hawks haven't kicked a goal in this third term. The Bulldogs have kicked 6. Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
James Sicily off for his first rest of the game. Doesn't look too serious there. Mitchell having a bit of a joke with him, but he was taken from the ground after that bit of push and shove.
Daniel sends the kick down the wing. A little nudge from Shaki on Jath as he takes the mark. His kick let him down. Puts it out on the full, looking for Waitman at half forward. It's the first error he's made. He's had a great quarter, Josh Shaki.
Oh, he certainly has. I love the fact his competitiveness has just gone up a level or two. Really good signs. Bomber Thompson used to say the opposite to us, Clinchy. That saying he said about if you can't do anything, start a fight. He said if you're not good enough and not prepared to put your head over the footy and you go and start a fight,
I don't want to see you wrestling.
He said, I'll bring you to the bench and I'll never play you again.
The Hawks short kicking game on that City wing ends up with Newcomb. Hand pass to Scrimshaw, loops a hand pass to Mitchell, dishes off to Bramble. He just steps his way around Daniel from high half forward, kicks to the hot spot, in from the side, Kaczynski. Huge mark. Knew the traffic was coming behind him, stood in front of it and pulls down the footy.
Which is Dino, isn't it? Just come across the face of the pack or slide across the back. He's just got wonderful timing, good hands. Probably doesn't do it enough, but as he matures, he will.
I think as he understands that work rate, because movement's his key, isn't it? Not just standing there wrestling.
Exactly.
Moving across late.
Hasn't kicked multiple goals since round 9, Jacob Kaczynski, so a little lean recently. Boy, do they need this finish, and they won't get it. He's missed out to the right, so another behind.
That's 4 set shots. I think they've missed in a row. I don't know if it's in a row, but they've certainly missed 4 set shots that you'd say all very gettable.
Yeah, their only scores for the quarter, Mick, the 4 behinds, all from the set shots. 5-11. The Western Bulldogs 12-10. Dogs have kicked the last 11 goals in the game. They led it by 41 points.
Tail end of Dunkley, works it back to Gardner. Still has it in the right back pocket. Drives a long kick towards Treloar and O'Meara. O'Meara works him underneath it. And it clears the 2 and goes out of play. 2nd minute marker, the second term. The last time Hawthorn have kicked a goal. Had a couple of opportunities late, but haven't been able to capitalise.
Jacob O'Meara's an interesting player. He's either very hot or he's very cold. This quarter he's had 1 and 4, but no influence whatsoever.
His last 5 matches he's had over 20 disposals, but not having the impact he would like tonight. Treloar selling some candy as he works his way around the outer wing. Hand pass to McCrayer to take the contact from Morrison. No free kick for too high. The Hawks take it back through Warple. Hand pass to Bramble. Good side step to clear a path forward. Sends it long towards Bruce. Caught behind. And a good mark taken by Hayden Crozier down to his right.
Bramble got some great footwear. He's Fred Astaire all over.
Yeah.
Do you know who that is?
Who is that, Mick?
Adam with Ginger Rogers?
Well, probably.
So he's the kick from Crozier, goes back down the city wing. Chath went to ground in the marking contest. Contest spills down towards Warple off his knees. Hand pass ends up with Treloar. Kicks the Bulldogs back down the wing, but Impey will be the first one there for the Hawks. Hand pass to Scrimshaw, loose hand pass for Nash. Put him under the pump immediately. Footy comes to Johannesson. Hand pass in the middle of the ground for Bontempelli. He can share it with O'Brien. Looking inside the forward 50. O'Brien kicks a high up and under in from the side. Norton, no mark. Spills down to Nash of the Hawks. Hand pass to this man, Bramble. It's off the back flank. Hand pass to Newcombe for the Hawks. He shares it with Impey.
Looks out towards the interchange side. Spots Connor McDonald free. He can go short to Moore, but not before the siren sounds. And a quarter in which the Hawks were held goalless, and the Western Bulldogs banged on 6 at the other end. 11 unanswered in the contest, and after leading by 5 points at halftime, all of a sudden they lead by 41 at three-quarter time. 12-10-82 to the Hawks 5-11-43. So the Western Bulldogs by 41 points. For the Dogs, 2 goals to Dunkley, Shackey, West and Johannesson. Individual goals to O'Brien, McComb and Norton. While for the Hawks, 2 goals to Mitch Lewis. Individuals to Moore, Bruce and Reeves.
The Hawks were one of only 3 teams entering the round that hadn't had a goalless quarter all season.
Oh, is that right?
I'll give you massive bonus points if you get the other 2. But now there's only 2 left.
North Melbourne?
Nope. Any guesses?
Who haven't had it?
The other 2 that... I'll do it on the other side of the promo. Okay. Other 2 that haven't had a goalless quarter all season. So Hawthorn were one of the 3. They're now
haven't had
out.
a goalless quarter, okay.
They've now had a goalless term here, the Hawks. So there's only 2 teams that haven't had one all season. Bulldogs by 41 points at three-quarter time. Meanwhile, the mighty Bombers in Perth. Look at that start. 19 and a half minutes into the opening quarter. The Bombers by 16. 3-5-23 over the West Coast Eagles 1-1-7. We'll take you there for second half action at the completion of our game here. Off the SMS, Mark from Mentone has been with us all night. Effort and attitude, Mick. Win the ball first. That's how you turn it around. He's backing your thoughts up there. And Bruce and Mary, I hope I got this pronunciation right, loving the call, sitting by a campfire in Taboobra in outback New South Wales. Hope that's right. But thank you, Bruce and Mary. Lovely to hear from you. And Michael in Vermont as well, who's got in touch with us off the SMS. So 0437 774 774. Final quarter action around the corner. Who are the only 2 teams in the competition that haven't had a goalless quarter all season? That's what we're asking here. It's the Dogs by 41 points on the scoreboard. The thoughts of Lingy and Mick next on Grandstand AFL.
Nominations for your Australian of the Year
are now open.
It's time to reflect on your community
And who you admire.
It's time to show you respect
by nominating
and acknowledging them. And it's time to celebrate
their story,
their contribution,
and their generosity.
I'm Hamish McDonald, and I'd love you to nominate an inspirational Australian who you think is worthy at australianoftheyear.org.au.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL. On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Liberatore tackle, dispossessed, Bramble dumped by Bontempelli, comes back to Libba. Surge kick to centre half forward. Norton can't trap it, leaping up. Johannesson rips it down for the Bulldogs. Hand pass to Norton, gives it to Dunkley, shoots goalward. Dunkley's kicked it.
Reeves wins down the tap, but it's Liberatore once more with the clearance. Kicks towards the 50. Johannesson, great mark. Johannesson veers out to the right, gets underneath it a little, but steers it straight. Has it got the journey? It does. Clears the goal line for his second. Toss back in. Sweet took it out of the ruck. Hand pass to Scott. Kicks towards Riley West. Can't take the one-handed mark. Clears to the back. Shackey on the right boot this time. Snaps truly.
Sweet to Norton. Couldn't take the mark. Follows up. Lays a huge tackle on Sicily. Dogs put it inside 50 through West. McComb can walk it in. Make it 11 in a row for the Bulldogs.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
All the Bulldogs in that third quarter, so they've kicked the last 11 in the game to lead by 41 points at three-quarter time. Meanwhile, in Perth, Approaching quarter time on opening term, Essendon 4-5-29, West Coast 1-1-7. So the Bombers by 22 points there, and it is women's origin tonight, New South Wales and Queensland, 54 minutes in, so second half action. It's a 70-minute game. New South Wales lead Queensland 16-10, so a converted try. The difference, just quickly, the other two teams, obviously Hawthorn aren't now as a side that have had they've had a goalless. They've now had a goalless quarter, so there's only two teams that haven't had one all season. They are, Mick?
Well, I said Gold Coast, and apparently that's close. And
that's correct.
Carlton?
Sydney Swans.
No. Brisbane. Even last night, they withstood that. They managed to kick at least a goal. So only Brisbane and Gold Coast, the two Queensland teams, have kicked at least a goal in every quarter all year.
Yeah, okay.
Well, they kicked one in the second and one in the third?
Yep. Yeah.
Two in the third.
How's that for a useless piece of trivia for you tonight?
No, I like it.
What about the round? We're talking about a great round of football. We've seen a 10-goal difference last night. We're already at 7.
Yeah.
Hasn't quite lived up to it yet, has it?
Well,
let's hope the best is still to come.
No, it hasn't.
We do have a Super Saturday coming.
Yeah.
For our Carlton, Cats, Tigers and Swans, Saints.
I've got the ladder. It's just amazing, this ladder, isn't it? When you look at these sides playing one another, I've crossed off, doesn't matter about the results tomorrow or over the weekend, Giants, because they've got to win 9 from 9. Hawks, Adelaide, and the other three was Essendon, North Melbourne and West Coast. But from there on in...
So you've got a race in 12.
I reckon Port's got to win 7 of 9. To get the I reckon 13, probably it's a change of history. 12 is generally it. 13 will probably be because of everyone's near 13.
Power have lost a couple through COVID today. So Tom Cleary and Darcy Byrne-Jones will miss against the Suns. That's the last game of the weekend.
Well, they get both
I reckon
back,
they need
though,
6.
They get Travis Boak back,
yeah. I reckon they need 6. The Dogs need 6. This is 6 of 9. Collingwood needs 6. Saints, and this is all relative to the draw, of course.
Yeah.
When you look at the draw, I mean, the Saints have got a tough draw, as have the Bulldogs.
Dogs have got the Brisbane Lions at the Gabba next week.
Well, next week's an absolute cracker next week. There's 3-4 ripping games.
That's why that quarter footy from the Dogs was so important. They just simply had to win tonight because of the run after tonight's game. And you'd think the way they just unleashed in that quarter, they will go on and do that. But then they do have that really difficult run ahead of them.
Yeah.
And Hawthorn have lost their last 3, but they were pretty competitive against Collingwood and Freo, so they haven't seen their best tonight, which has been, apart from that first quarter.
It is funny how much, when it's a coach in his first season, you get that honeymoon period of going, they've been competitive losses.
Yeah, that's right.
If this was a coach in his 4th or 5th year, you cop it.
That's with the I formation. I formation, for those that don't understand, is goal square to 50-metre line. They're all in a line, so they can actually break, straight up, and they can break left or right. So it keeps the back line player guessing which way you're going to go. Whereas you look at it's like Marsville George's Brown's farm.
Scouts. 41 points the Dogs lead as we start the final term. Sweet wins it down. Dunkley, hand pass to the Bond, kicks inside 50. O'Brien leaping forward at the back, no mark. Falls to Scrimshaw, the Hawks. Hand pass over his shoulder, ends up with Bramble. His handball's knocked down. Now Sicily grabs it, tackled heavily by Shackey. And the umpire says ball up, 30 metres out from the Dogs' goal.
They'll be very pleased with Shackey's tackling.
He's doing the ruck work here against Reeves. Down to Liberatore. Somehow dropped it onto his boot. Towards Norton. Working back Sicily. Gets it in front of Norton and Blank. Norton puts the bump on as he kicks towards Warple. Couldn't take the mark. West gathers it for the Dogs. Hand pass to Trelaw. He's going to retreat back to Keith. Off balance and up and under kick out. Inside 50. Bounced off the chest to Bontempelli or Newcomb.
That's the mark.
In the end it was off Newcomb and he claims the mark on the second bite. Switches out to left half back. Bruce running hard. Takes the mark back with the flight against Johannesson.
Oh, he goes short to Morrison, overcooks it on the kick, comes to Gardner. Gardner tackled by Morrison, ball comes out. Morrison the 1-2 with Lewis, and then his second hand pass turns it over. Shackey for the Bulldogs to Johannesson, hand pass to Dale, to Liberatore. They work it down to high half forward. Here's Bailey Williams as he just stepped his way around Scrimshaw, but he was out of bounds. And gee, the boundary umpire was late to arrive. Williams ain't happy with that, but he's got to throw it back to the boundary ump and we'll have a throw in 70 out from the Bulldogs goal. Gillon McLaughlin did tell us at the start of the year, despite these sexy new screens, we were getting the Lockett and Coventry signs back, and we're now at round 15, we still haven't got them.
Might have had some other jobs that have taken priority. Warple for the Hawks, gathers, hand pass to Nash, kicks up the wing. Bailey Dale was waiting for it. Slides in front of Bruce and takes the mark. Dogs have just been in control since quarter time. Back to Scott inside the defensive 50. He can retreat back further still. Caleb Daniel has it.
It's $1 billion TV rights and AFLW expansion, and all I'm worried about is simple science. I just want to Coventry and Lockett ends back at Docklands.
It is good for our radio audience. As Daniel out towards Treloar. He could have been taken high by Nash. He was, and landed awkwardly on the middle of his back. Slow to rise, but seems to be okay. He'll take it at right half back for the Western Bulldogs. They lead by 41 points. I'm disappointed the I formation didn't result in a goal. Straight out of the Gordon Bombay playbook. Who is Mick? Coach of the Mighty Ducks. Well, they had the Flying V.
Yes.
Never seen it.
No.
You're kidding.
Come on.
I haven't seen most things, but that's on the list as well. As Treloar kicks down the wing and Scrimshaw at the back of the pack takes the mark for Hawthorn, shares it with Morrison. His kick a shocker into the middle of the ground. Keith intercepts, doesn't break stride, hits up Norton, who slips over but marks it anyway. He was already on the deck and off his knees just leaps forward and takes the sprawling mark for the Bulldogs. And Alex Keith, he kicked a couple over in Perth a few weeks ago against the Eagles. I think his eyes lit up. He wanted to have a ping there, but did the team thing.
He ran about 18 steps after he took the mark as well, but it was just a gift, wasn't it? The kick straight to Keith.
That's the play in the first quarter that brought the Dogs undone through the middle.
So Norton from right in front, he's got it. And the Doggies with a dozen straight. They move to 13-10. Hawthorn 5-11, 12 in a row for the Western Bulldogs after trailing the game by 26 points in the second quarter. Early in the final term, they lead by 47.
I sat up in the dining room here a couple of years ago. It must have been pre-COVID with my son, my wife. He's a dog supporter. He had a look. And I said, you better not move, mate. But the Dogs have just kicked 7, 8, 9, 13, 14, 16. What did they get to? 17 or 18 in a row?
Is that the Essendon game?
Yeah. Hey, come on.
I've tried to forget it. I've been going through therapy to try and make sure that night's
what was it?
forgotten.
About 20, wasn't it?
I can look it up. But
I think Fremantle may have the record. Yeah. Anyway, Corbin, it's a long time ago, mate, and the side's just in front.
Jeez. Bulldogs by 47 points. Aaron Norton with just his second, so big night for the Dogs, but it hasn't been their key forward who's dominated. Dunkley
West, well
kicks
done.
into the middle of the ground, and West did really well. Got it to Liberatore. Hand pass to Johannesson. Kicks inside 50. Norton and Ugelhagen. Ugelhagen, one tap, two. He's got enough. I don't think he actually held it at the very end, but the umpire was convinced that he had enough of it to be claimed a mark.
Yeah, Essendon kicked the first goal, and then the Dogs kicked the next 21.
So
21 goals to 1 late in the final quarter.
Goodness gracious.
So we've got a few to go. What are we up to? 12.
The little wins for some of the Dogs players tonight are huge. This bloke, Josh Shackey, Riley West, a couple of those types of players have just played their best games of the season.
Just needs a finish now, and this time he does. Jamari Ugelhagen with his first goal of the match. Hoping from little things, big things can grow. And all of a sudden the Dogs have 13 on the trot. And it's almost a battle within a battle as to how long they can keep this going. 53 points is the margin. 14-10-94 to the Hawks, 5-11-41.
Well, Mick, you know what you're going to get from Jack McRae. You know what you're going to get from Libba every week. Bontempelli's exactly the same. Treloar, obviously Bailey Smith coming back in is another big plus. But it's these other players we've got question marks. If they can grow as the rest of this season progresses and hit September with a lot of confidence, that could make a massive difference.
Absolutely. Ugelhagen, just watching Mark, it tries to float across the front, and a lot of times the ball goes over here, so he hasn't quite got the timing yet. So when that arrives, he's going to cause some serious damage to sides.
A quarter time in Perth, the Bombers by 14 points over the Eagles. We'll take you there for the second half following the completion of this game here, where the Dogs lead by 53.
That was good again by Shackey. Followed up after the ruck work. He was battling with Warple at ground level and kept scrapping. Such good signs.
So we got another ball up. Reeves wins the hit out, but straight to Treloar. Squeezed to kick out. Nash just knocks it forward for the Hawks. Shields collects. Hand pass away to Morrison. Puts Hawthorn to the hot spot. Reaching for it and a good grab. It's Butler. And the youngest man on the ground pulls down a superb contested mark. He'll shoot from 25 out straight in front.
Might be the youngest. He's got a haircut that he can keep. He can actually keep to himself. Honestly, he would not want to be sharing that one. In fact, you know what? I reckon he's under on a bet. He's lost.
Your grandkids soon, Mick, will be rolling out with that kind of haircut.
Zach, my eldest, has got he's got the big stuff down the back. You know, he's got the mullet.
The shaved sides.
Oh well, no, thank God, because his mother won't let him.
Here comes Sam Butler to finally end the run. He does so. The teenager puts it through, and this run of 13 straight goals comes to a close. Finally one back the other way for the Hawks. Hawthorn 6-11-47, the Dogs 14-10-94, the Bulldogs by 47, 7 played in the last.
Percentage should have a bit of a say in this too, I think, Lingy, with so many sides close to one another, and as I think you indicated before that their percentage was quite sound, so this will actually top them up. As long as they maintain this. Look,
they got the best of the teams with 8 wins, don't they?
Yeah.
They'll go straight to 6th.
So as it would stand at the moment, they've jumped to 6th with Richmond, Sydney, St Kilda, Collingwood, all still to play.
Yeah, right.
Percentage is better than all
yes.
those.
Yeah.
But, you know, it can disintegrate very quickly when you only kick 14-10. So their goal now is to really keep the foot on the accelerator.
So Sam Butler with his 5th goal of his career, able to break the Western Bulldogs run. They get the clearance through Warple again. Can they double it up? McDonald kicks towards 50. Here's Mitch Lewis. Claims the mark just outside 50 to the right. Just how good can he become?
Well, he's a typical Hawthorn player, isn't he? You get that tall, lean player that can take a good catch, front of goal. You know, Kaczynski's with him. So when they all grow up together, these blokes, they're going to be a fair side. They're just going to clean up the middle a little bit.
8 marks for the match. 2 goals in the first quarter for Mitch Lewis. It's from outside 50. So long range goes whack.
Yes.
And carries the journey. Monster Mitch. Mitch Lewis with his 3rd, and the Western Bulldogs all of a sudden have conceded 2 on the trot. They still lead by 41 points, 14-10-94 to Hawthorn 11-53. Well, Mitch Cleary, you broke the story about the hand therapist. If he kicks like that, they might all have them by season's end.
He's hand therapist Hamish Anderson. His nickname's Hando. Just it works.
What a surprise!
It works. He might need a pay rise after this season.
Yeah, he may have signed the contract too early.
Yeah, what a roost that was.
He does do off 4 or 5 steps. There's no more. I thought at one stage there he looked like he was just going to put it into the goal square.
He's still, so 3 tonight, he's averaging 3 goals a game.
Yeah. From a side that's
really struggling.
Yeah.
As a key forward, if you can go forward averaging 3 goals a game,
that's big.
Massive.
Only 23 years of age, Mitch Lewis. A bit of interest from the other Victorian clubs, as you can imagine, but staying a Hawk for at least the next 4 years. Sweet in the middle, wins the hit out down to Bontempelli. Hand pass to McRae, links up with Dale, kicks to centre half forward. Shaki no mark, but follows up off the deck. Hand pass back to the Bond, has another go inside 50. Waitman with courage, dropping back in the hole. No mark, spills to West. Hand pass back to Waitman, who's crunched again. Treloar tries to keep it alive. He paddles it to Williams, and he's tackled out of play. A throw in forward pocket for the Bullies.
I'll tell you what Cody Waitman is doing. There is zero staging with the way he's playing now. So no doubt Luke Beveridge has had a little word after a bit of the feedback that was being received. That attack and that courage there without any trying to milk of the free kick is superb. That's how you win the respect. Free kick
and it's going to be a Dogs free kick in the rectangle. So
you see that again. It looked like a free kick initially.
Yeah, so Nash was the undersized ruckman, put both arms around Sweet. That's what the umpire's explaining to him.
Yeah, I reckon
the Irishman's a bit bemused by it all.
He's gone to the same hairdresser too, just quietly.
Yeah.
Just hasn't quite caught the back of it.
So Ned Reeves was able to kick a goal early. There's a chance here for Jordan Sweet to try and return serve. Just kicked 1 goal in his career. In his 9th match, getting the opportunity with no Tim English in the lineup. Jordan Sweet comes in, head over the footy and steers it through. The Dogs answer back after 2 at the other end. And they come from everywhere to celebrate with their big man. Bulldogs back out by 47 and they crack the ton. 15-10-100 to the Hawks, 7-11-53. 12 minutes gone. Final term on ABC Sport.
Mick, just looking at Hawthorn, we're talking about how exciting Mitch Lewis and Kaczynski are up forward. Back line probably needs maybe a little bit more height, but some of the rebound attack. that midfield just hasn't kicked on as much as we expected. O'Meara hasn't made the leap. Warple hasn't made the leap. Even Tom Mitchell, as good as he's been, and the way he finds the footy, he's not damaging. That's where it's got to be, isn't it? Wherever they draft from now or bring in, it's got to be the middle of the ground.
I would have thought so. There may be one tall key back, but it starts and finishes, as we've said before, right in the middle. And if you've got players who are just pedestrian pace, you've got to either increase the pace or increase the ball getting.
5 times in their last 10 games, the Dogs have kicked 3 figures, and they've got a 99 in that time as well. Hawthorn with the centre clearance here as Mitchell kicks up over halfway. Warple up to meet it out of the forward 50. Now kicks out wide to half forward. Tough one for Lewis. Gardner spoils from over the top. Butler just tripped over a hurdle by himself. He gets back to his feet now to lay a smother on the kick from Keith. Spills to Daniel. Hand pass back to Gardner in the defensive 50. Slow turning circle. Kicks out a defensive 50 and Bontempelli marks, but not before an illegal Shepherd. Free kick Hawthorn. And Impey's going to get it. Attacking edge of the centre square. Can pump it back inside a congested forward 50. Lewis is up. Lewis has got it. Those hand exercises are paying off. Just Velcro for hands as he clunks it in the pack. And he'll have a kick in the right forward pocket for the Hawks.
I'll say now about Norton. Everyone knows he takes a run at the full, unless he's on the lead, and they take his run or they just bump him a little bit and he loses balance. Gardner was right next to him and did no physical work before Lewis launched himself. So he's got a free run at it.
Mitch Lewis in a side well beaten, the 23-year-old. He's got 4. Worth every cent. And cuts the Bulldogs' lead to 41 points. The Dogs 15-10, 100. Hawthorn 8-11-59. And their young emerging star forward, Mitch Lewis, has 4 of Hawthorn's 8.
199 centimetres, 100 odd kilos.
So athletic.
Well, we've seen him up on the wing take. He was leading the possession rate in the first quarter by the Hawks. When you're on a play like that, you've got to do your work early. You cannot do it late because it's too late. So Gardner, and we know he's not a physical player, but you've got to get inside him, make him work over the top of you. If he takes a big mark, put him, pat him on the back. But to let him go and run at the football, and this is where these players, when you're 199, the work has to be just to cut him down so he can't take possession.
Reeves tries to win down the tap to McDonald. Little toe poke in there, which the Bulldogs ruckman didn't like. Liberatore gets it. Kicks towards half forward. Howe courageously back with the flight. Takes a good mark at right half back for the Hawks.
They're playing really good football this quarter, Hawks.
Comes inboard to O'Meara. Stationary. Spoiled down. Bontempelli. Quick 1-2 with Jamara. And the Bont misses to the left-hand side. 42 points. The Western Bulldogs lead at the 15-minute mark of the final term.
Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
Just speaking about Hawthorn's midfield, there is a positive. Josh Ward, their top 10 pick from last year, is back from a month-long battle with concussion. He's back in the VFL this weekend, so a positive there. He's going to add a lot to the Hawthorn midfield over the next decade.
Oh, you're absolutely spot on. He can seriously play, that kid. Seriously play. Yeah, and beautiful disposer too, Corbin.
Mitch Cleary on the boundary. Mick Moldhouse up here. Sicily goes long down the middle, but turns it over as an intercept mark for Keith. Now through Dale. Puts the Dogs deep in the forward pocket. Shackey the target. Spoil comes from Howe, and it's out of bounds in the forward pocket for the Bulldogs. Over in Perth, 5 minutes into the second quarter. Bombers by 9. So Essendon 5-6-36. West Coast 4-3-27.
You get nervous, Corbin.
Take it there for the second half.
So much so he's dropped his chair down.
My chair down mid-sentence.
Reeves tries to take it out of the ruck for the Hawks. Pinched by McRae. Chance for Liberatore. Back to Bailey Williams. Flying shot on goal. He probably won't have the distance. Pulls up a foot or two short as James Sicily takes the mark on the goal line.
Had a couple of targets too, Williams.
Yes. Bulldogs by 42. Sicily long out of defence. Nash had to spoil it away from Dunkley. It works. Blank with a hand pass to Morrison. Drives a kick along the wing. Butler got rid of his opponent. Took a good mark. It was Tim O'Brien. A mismatch in size. Quick hand pass to Kaczynski. Long inside 50. Fly this, Mitch Lewis. He does. Can't take the mark with Dale in front. Gathered by Sweet. Hand pass to Daniel for the Dogs. To O'Brien. And Crozier is out of defence.
Lays a hand pass out to Keith. Goes along the ground with his handball to Scott. And the left footer just hooks his kick down the wing. Dunkley competes. It was punched away, though. Nice work from Blank. Finds the safety of the boundary line. And a throw-in between wing and half forward for Hawthorn.
Some brave play over there at far side, running back and with the ball. The Hawthorn player didn't pick him up. Only a young fella. Is that him there?
Yep, James Blank.
Gee,
number 36.
So brave. So brave.
The fifth debutant for Hawthorn this year under Sam Mitchell for the boundary throw-in. Sweet palms it down. Mitchell through traffic, though, for the Hawks. Hand pass to Bruce to O'Meara. His hand pulled, knocked down by Keith, and now he tackles Mitchell. Ball spills out over the boundary line. Nice work, Alex Keith. And a boundary throw-in, 60 out from the Hawks' goal. Just repeating, we will take you to Perth for the second half of the action between Essendon and West Coast. So full wash up here at Docklands, and then 2 more quarters of footy to come tonight.
Thrown back in, Reeves in front position, but it's Sweet who knocks it down. McRae gathers, hand pass to Daniel at half-back. Jams it on the boot, kicks a high ball around the wing. Spoiled from behind by Hardwick, brought it down to the front. Dunkley couldn't get a disposal away. A chance of the Hawks through Howe. Kicks inside the forward 50. Kajitsky in front. Spoiled down by Keith. A chance for Bruce. Was he taken high? He was. Hard against the boundary, only a few millimetres in the field of play. And he'll get a shot on goal on a tight angle here.
Another one of those that we often refer to with the small forwards. They try it. It's up to the umpire to umpire it. And Bruce was able to draw the free kick for the high contact, but Bruce certainly made sure it ended up high.
Luke Bruce steps out, snaps across his body. It's a good effort. It's a great finish. Something late for the Hawks as Luke Bruce kicks his second. And the Hawks fans who are still in attendance enjoyed that finish. 36 points, the Western Bulldogs lead. 15-11, 101 to the Hawks, 9-11, 65. So the Hawks have actually kicked 4 goals to the Dogs, 3 in this final term.
Yeah, all a bit too late, but this is the way they started the first quarter, with quick movement, get the ball into their forward line, expose the defence, if you like. So inside 50s, it is currently 9-all. Right there. 6-7, is it?
7-6.
7-6.
Bulldogs way.
Yeah, not much difference. Making the most of it. The Hawks. They've got some really good finishes down there.
I've had 39 disposals for 6 inside 50s and 4 goals.
4 goals, yeah.
So they're
4
making the
goals
most
too,
of what they've got, yeah.
4 goals.
4 goals straight,
4 straight, yeah.
Frost, Gunston, McAvoy, Ward, really the big names out of this Hawthorn team as the Bulldogs get the centre break. Liberatore hits up McRae, who takes the mark at high half forward, looks into the pocket. Jamara the target. Blank takes the intercept mark. Hand pass away to Bramble. He lays it off to Jaff, who's off and running down the city wing. Kicks Hawthorn down to half forward. Mitchell outsized, and his former teammate in Tim O'Brien leaps up to take the intercept mark for the Bulldogs. He goes all the way back to Crozier, who was told to play on, and Luke Bruce with a punky push just gets rid of it out of the hands of Crozier and runs into the open goal to pop through his third. And he's made a living out of that, Luke Bruce, just to push onto the hips of Crozier when he tried to clear out of the defensive 50, forced the turnover and cashed in with the unguarded goal square. Hawthorn back within 30 points. They have now kicked 5 of the last 6 in the game.
Yeah, well, if you're going to play on, 1, you don't play on that close, and 2, you're a left footer, so you're exposing the ball totally to the man who's going to tackle you. So you're going to get a result that's not going to be that favourable.
You don't take 5 steps when someone's closing down on you. Get rid of it in a hurry. He still provides something for them up there, doesn't he, Luke Bruce? Just
what is he, 30?
Hard work, 31
now.
Yeah.
He's 15 goals this year. 25 goals this year.
Nearly took 10 goals off him.
That's a lot of goals.
Don't tell Corby. A goal to the Eagles from Cripps, and they're in front. Bontempelli, the clearance. McComb kicks inside 50. Touched off the boot as West gathers. Hand pass to Liberatore. He winds up from 50. Liver.
Deserves that.
All class. For so much of the match, he's been the provider, doing the grunt work in the middle of the ground. And he seized his opportunity at the top of the 50 to slide through and bang one home. The Bulldogs 16th of the match, 16-11, 107 to the Hawks 10-11, 71.
Not that I put too much waiting in the junk time of the last quarter when a game's over, but That just nicely capped off his 3-vote game, I think, Mick.
Oh, well,
I might be spoiling the ending of what the votes are going to be, but there is no question that when the game was there for the Dogs, it was Tom Liberatore who lifted his team.
Are you going to go out and get Corbin now and bring him back and show him the scoreboard over the West? Or,
yeah,
because he's gone. He's gone. You know when supporters leave the ground? He's gone. Matt, you're going to take over.
Around the grounds, please.
If you don't want to know the score, look away now.
The Eagles by 2 there, so 12 minutes into the second term. Here it's the Western Bulldogs by 36 points midway through the final term. Back in the middle, Sweet knocks it forward. Treloar coughs it up by hand. Coming away with it, Shields. Hand pass to Warple through the middle of Docklands. Kicks to centre half forward. Butler down there with O'Brien. O'Brien spoils. Nash takes it for Hawthorn under pressure. Hand pass to Butler. Bursts through the would-be tackle from McComb. Hooks his kick inside 50 with Crozier's back. Takes the intercept mark. Bulldogs by 36 points. In fact, we're early in time on in this final term here, so the sand running out in the hourglass for the Hawks. They're a long way back as O'Brien kicks down the wing. Spills down Hawthorn's way more. Hand pass to Scrimshaw. He hands it away to Howe on the wing.
Kicks it straight to O'Brien, who marks on his chest against his former side. With Liam Shields unable to have really any impact in the marking battle. So O'Brien's going to go back inside defensive 50. They've done this a lot tonight, the Dogs. As Keith takes the mark. No one's standing on the mark, so he can push right back.
Hawthorn cover so narrow, the ground. They cover the corridor. They don't really cover too wide, so it has allowed the Dogs to get out of trouble a little bit.
Called to play on, kicks towards Norton up against the boundary, just can't juggle the mark. Sicily tries to get a hand pass clear. Norton can't pick it up cleanly. Moore could, hand pass it straight to Dale though, who works it to McRae and now to McComb. Kicks up towards the wing, Chamara in from the side. He's just done a couple of things tonight that makes you think it might all come together at some stage.
Just keep playing him, no matter what.
Veers out to the left and takes a couple of extra metres of ground. Long towards Williams, who flies against Jaff. Cleared there, McNeil couldn't gather. It's picked up by Blank from the VFL program. Works it to Mitchell. And now out to right half back where Bruce has it.
So Bruce, great kick back into the corridor. Moore takes the one-hander, plays on, shares it with Nash. Nash hand pass to McDonald, who's right in the middle of the ground. He kicks inside the forward 50. Going up is Butler, can't take the mark. Spoil from Crozier, now he's outnumbered. Numbers with the Bulldogs. Gardner, hand pass to West. He's drilled in the tackle from Shields. West off his backside, turns it over. Hand pass straight to Butler of the Hawks. Gives it to Bramble. Hand pass to Moore, who can snap it through for a goal. And the Hawks continue to fight on in this final term, despite the fact the game appears beyond them. A second for Dylan Moore. The Bulldogs by 30, 16-11. Hawthorn move to 11-11. 25 played final term on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, I still think, Lingy, I know we call it junk time. You don't make fundamental errors.
No, I agree with that.
I know. I'm not. This is not ever go. This is a simple fact is that it's okay to see goals kicked if it's a nice goal and they take a nice mark and they get. But don't give the opposition back the ball when the ball only needs to be placed over the boundary line, or play the percentages.
Yeah. There's a lot of bad habits happening in this last quarter.
Absolutely,
from the Dogs, because it's nice, neat play at times, but then they're also all just rushing forward, trying to get on the end of it. I agree with you. You want to finish this game the way you want to start next week's game.
Too right.
The Hawks with 6-4 in this final term. A chance still for them to add to that as Warple tries to scrap for it. Tackles Liberatore, ball spills clear. Shaki loses it. Gathered by Warple, dribbles it inside 50. Keith has to deal with it. Bruce pressures him, slaps it to the advantage of Daniel. Couldn't pick it up cleanly, then knocks it back to Keith. They found a way out as Crozier gathers. Hard against the boundary, kicks to Treloar on the wing. He takes the mark just wide of the AFL logo. Bulldogs by 30 points. Treloar comes into the corridor. Johannesson takes the mark as Dale on the other wing. The kick hung in the air a little while. Morrison made the contact but made it high. And Bailey Dale takes the free kick, looks up to half forward. Josh Dunkley marks. He's got options in the middle of the ground. If you wanted to go to O'Brien or Treloar, ignores that, goes for Jamara, tries to slide in, almost juggled the mark against Kaczynski. And Howe's able to pick it up for the Hawks.
Hand pass to Sicily, kicks down the wing. Lewis held out of it illegally in a free kick against Dale.
He just comes at the footy hard, doesn't he? Lewis just launches and either marks it or draws a free kick like that because the opposition panic.
Thursday night next week for the Bulldogs up against Brisbane. That's a fascinating game now. So Brisbane have only lost one of their last 25 regular season games at the Gabba. Coming off a heavy defeat though, and now a few problems with personnel as the kick into the corridor for Impey goes to centre half forward, and it's Shackey who fights for it and wins a ground ball. Hand pass for the Bulldogs to Williams, kicks across the ground to Trelaw. Dogs again on the counter attack. Hand pass to the run of Scott. He leaves it behind for Dunkley. They've got a 3-on-1 and a handball situation, the Bulldogs. Hands it away to Scott. He turns, kicks it as far as he can, and Norton takes a mark in the goal square. He bowls over Blunt, the first gamer, and Norton can shoot from the top of the goal square just to drive it home.
Just need to help me here, Mick. Are you allowed to do that, what Norton just did? It wasn't in the back, but he completely removed him from a contest.
10 metres. The ball's still in the air when he's...
Norton with emphasis puts it up into the second deck, and the Bulldogs are out by 6 goals yet again. 28 minutes travel, final turn. Bulldogs by 36, 17-11. Hawthorn 11-11, and Norton with 2.
Maybe just watching that replay, maybe he can do that. Yeah, it was
within 10.
He had
body on body.
The opposition player, I think it was blank, off balance.
Yeah.
And it was just a show of strength, body on body. Yeah, no, that's all right. In live play, it looked like he'd just completely thrown him out of the way early. But
real early. But when you look at it now,
yeah, good decision by the umpire.
So Aaron Norton with his third. Moves up to 38 for the season. And the Western Bulldogs percentage, well, it'll jump up a little bit, but not as much as it potentially looked like it was going to at one stage, where they got out by close to 50 points. The Dogs with the clearance. Shackey's able to work it to Bontempelli. Dribbles the kick inside 50. Norton almost able to run down playing. He got his kick away, but only as far as Dale. Cruises through 50. The defender finishes on the run. It's party time for the Dogs now. It's Bailey Dale at full flight, able to kick his 5th goal of the season. One of a handful of Dogs who have played every game so far this season. They're back out by 42 points. 18-11, 119 to the Hawks 11-11, 77.
So little something's happened off the ball. It was James Sicily and Jamara Ugle-Hagan as that ball was coming down the ground. I'm not sure what it was, but Ugle-Hagan hit the deck hard.
Right.
And Sicily ran off. They're having a couple of words now. I don't know if we're going to get a replay showing the angle because it was a little bit off.
Oh, yeah. He's already down on the replay that we're looking at.
Yeah, I don't know what went on though.
Both teams kicking 6 goals in this final term, so the Dogs now edging the quarter by a point. They lead the game by 42. The Sweet wins the hit out. Bontempelli just knocks it forward. Howe was there though for Hawthorn. Hand pass into the centre square for Kaczynski. Comes to Moore. Got it to Newcomb. Away to Warpaloo by hand. Howe a little casual. Run down by Liberatore. Got a hand pass away. Impey pokes it inside 50 and O'Meara hitting up. Takes the mark at centre half forward for the Hawks. It's been a pretty free-flowing sort of all-star game style final quarter.
We got... 6 each. 6 each. This is probably going to make it 13 for the quarter.
Jager from straight in front. That's not a great finish. He'll be lucky to score. It's touched in front of the behind line by Lewis. In fact, as you said, when he pushed Sweet in the back, so he gives away the free kick. Dogs will get it. Last line of defence. We're 31 minutes into this final term. It's the Bulldogs by 42 points.
It's a nice kick too, big distance.
Certainly is. A raking kick towards half-back. Norton was unable to juggle the mark. Picked up by Liberatore though. Hand pass to Bontempelli. He wants to feed the hand pass boundary side. McRae just keeps running, gets it to Jamara. They run the length of the wing, linking up with Norton, and here's Riley West. He's out the back and he marks 15 metres out directly in front.
What's this hard work? Hard work to run there because there were for the listeners without knowing on TV, there was just nothing in front of Norton, nothing whatsoever. In fact, there was probably a couple of Hawthorn players, and it was just a workload to get players up there.
There's a bit going on the southern wings, the far wings. So you have a look at that, Corby, and I'll watch Riley West, who's got a chance to kick a career-best third goal. West comes in directly in front, 15 metres out, continuing the family legacy and doing it in his own style. Riley West kicks his third, and the Western Bulldogs extend it back out to a 48-point lead, 19-11, 125 to the Hawks 11-11, 77. So that's 7 goals to 6. And having said that, well, at one stage it got out to 50 and it got back to 30-odd. All of a sudden now we're back to 48. It's a funny old last quarter.
It certainly is. Libba and Sicily have not stopped yapping at each other since the wrestle with Bontempelli and Sicily. A little bit going on. Watching the replay of it right now. And Bontempelli just gave a nice bump to Sicily. You'll see here, Mick, I'd done my votes pretty early when I thought the game was already done and dusted. Yeah. You can see there, the man who just kicked that goal was already on my votes. Yeah. Even without that third goal, I think that is the best game I've seen him play in his short career.
3 goals for Riley West. The Bulldogs by 48 points and another stoppage in the middle of the ground.
So clean too.
Yeah.
There was a passenger play in front of us. That one-handed take, that lay off the hand pass was just brilliant.
They'll be in the 8 tonight, the Dogs, but there is a scenario with Collingwood and Richmond both win that they may not necessarily be there come Monday, regardless of what they're doing tonight. As Morrison from the stoppage kicks into the pocket. Lewis got it from Butler. Hand pass to Newcombe, and Newcombe banks one through for the Hawks. So this freestyle final term continues. And Hawthorn in the last quarter have banged on 7 goals. The Dogs have matched them at the other end. Hawthorn 12-11-83. The Bulldogs 19-11, 125. The Bulldogs by 42 points and a goal to John Newcombe.
This is a bit of match play at training this last quarter, Mick, where the coach, you're yelling at him going, just token pressure, boys. Yeah. Just shadow them. Token pressure.
Yeah, go from one end to the other. Let's see what our kick-outs are like. Let's see what our centre bounces are like, because that's all we're doing at the moment.
It's been a while since we've seen 7 goals each in a quarter of footy.
14 goals.
I mean, was that first quarter, was it 8 goals to 6, the Brisbane Giants game a few weeks ago? I think there was that one up in the there. But yeah, that was 8 goals to 6.
This is coach's torment. I'll give you a tip.
And a freestyle game in which both sides have taken their opportunity. Bulldogs by 42. Liberatore gets a clearance. Hand pass to Bontempelli. Kicked into Warple. It clears back to Warple. Couldn't get the hand pass to Kajitsky. Sliding in Bontempelli down low. He was taken high. Dale takes the advantage. Kicks out to the wing where Scott will gather. And the siren sounds. A big win for the Western Bulldogs by 42 points over the Hawks. They've scrapped and clawed. They're back in touch with the 8. Now the challenge to stay there as the tough opponents come.
We come out strong, Bulldogs through and through. Bulldogs fight and Bulldogs roar. We give our very best. But you can't beat the boys of the Bulldog breed. We're the team of the mighty West.
The Hawks burst out of the blocks and led by 19 points at quarter time. Then the Western Bulldogs took control the last 5 goals of the half to lead by 5 points at quarter time, by 41 points at three-quarter time after 6 goals to none in the third term. The Western Bulldogs were going to kick the next 13 goals unanswered before a 7-goal apiece final term. The Bulldogs running out 42-point winners, 19-11, 125 to the Hawks 12-11, 83.
On the west, red, white and blue, we come out snarling, Bulldogs through and through. Bulldogs fight and Bulldogs roar. We give our very best, but you can't beat the boys of the Bulldog breed. We're the team of the mighty West, but you can't beat the boys of the Bulldog breed. The team of the mighty
So the Western Bulldogs jump inside the top 8 into 6th position to start round 15. But as Corby mentioned, with opportunities for Collingwood, Richmond, Sydney, St Kilda still to play, they're no guarantee to be there by the end of the weekend. It was a high-scoring affair, so hang on. There was 12 individual goal kickers, 3 to Norton, 3 to West, a career best for Riley West, 2 to Joe Hannison and 2 to Shaki, 2 to Josh Dunkley as well. Individuals to Ugelhagen, Bontempelli, Liberatore, O'Brien, McComb, Dale and Sweet. Correct, Wade?
Nailed it.
Hawks far easier, just 6 individual goal kickers. 4 to Mitch Lewis, 4-2 for the match. 3 to Bruce, 2 to Moore. The individuals to Butler, Reeves and Newcomb. The Bulldogs winners by 42 points.
So they're 6th as it sits at the moment on the premiership table, as Clinchy outlined. If Collingwood and Richmond win, obviously there has to be a winner in the game between St Kilda and Sydney. It'll mean that the Dogs will still be on the outside looking in by a game at the end of the weekend. But if any one of those results goes the other way, Geelong beat Richmond, the Giants beat Collingwood, that'll be enough to keep the Bulldogs there at the end of the weekend. They've now won 5 of their past 6 games. Very different over at Hawthorn. They've now lost 8 of their last 9. 42 points, their final margin, the Bulldogs winners over the Hawks.
Well, I think we sat back and just enjoyed that last quarter for a bit of the action and free flowing. You almost, if you want to
bite your tongue,
bite your tongue, Lee. Talk about form lines. We've got to scrap the last quarter, but it was pretty much watching training.
Yeah,
the last quarter.
There was a track meet.
You're coaching now, don't forget. You've been coaching your son, so that's not good.
But I get to coach the under-10s where I get to just tell them all out attack, go for it, kick goals.
Well, you've obviously been telling these to go the same way.
Show them the footy.
Yeah.
All the tricks.
If you can take a hanger, go for it. But so we'll just park the last quarter for a second. Yeah. It was the Bulldogs in the second and third quarters. The Bulldogs at their most dangerous when they can dominate contested possession. They can hunt around the footy and put enough pressure on the opposition to just scrap the ball forward. And then their running halfbacks can get creative, and their lack of really high quality, top-end defensive players don't get exposed, and away they go. I think the biggest positive, though, out of the night for me as a dog, if I was a Dogs fan, would be the glimpses that I saw from Josh Shaki, what I saw from Jamara Ugelhagen, what I saw from Riley West, these other players outside the household names that you know what you're going to get. Lots of little wins that send you into the back part of the year going, okay, maybe there's more that we can grow in this team and that we can find the depth rather than always having to call on Bontempelli and Libba and McRae and these types of players.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because when you start the year off as a coach, you have even October, you pick a side. I used to put on a magnetic board, there's my side. By Christmas you change it, by first practice match it's changed again. And the way you get better is that side that got you, let's say, 6th. If it's the same side that got you 6th, then what you want to do is at the beginning of the season and through the season have it changed. Because the only way you get better is the players that are in your best side get better, or if that's impossible because they've got an age or they're just, that's their best, then you've got to introduce players. Yep. And as you mentioned, a number of players there, Ugelhagen tonight demonstrated that he can take a good mark. He's the way he does it, he's probably have to change marginally. He's going to have to sometimes actually body players, go over the top of players, take big pack marks, not just drift in front because they'll work him out. Can he stay on the side with Bruce on the side? Because Bruce has got to play, and English will come back. I'll tell you the other thing that happened tonight. I reckon that Reeves was so well on top, but Street, sweet, but in between, the Dogs worked out where the hit zone was, but then I thought the ruck work of the Dogs become almost 50-50. So they negated the big advantage that Reeves had. So that was a credit to the Dogs, because although we're getting absolutely smashed in that ruck work in that first quarter.
And I think, so credit that to Sweet. I think credit to Libba as well, the way he read. But I think they got an advantage with the competitiveness of Shaki as the backup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too. So they fixed that up. The first quarter, Luke Beveridge will review, and show the team and say, we can't start like this. If we were playing against a team who's in the top 4 on the ladder, the way they started this game, the Bulldogs, it's potentially game over by quarter time.
Yeah.
So they've got to fix a few things up there. But the way they were able to completely shift it mid-game rather than wait till the review on Monday, that's a really good sign for them.
Yeah.
I agree with you about Ugle-Hagan. I reckon just keep playing him. He'll keep finding. He took 6 marks tonight. He's starting to realise the work rate needed to get there. He's starting to realise the strength that he needs in a marking contest. When you get just a clever little knock by a defender, you can't just collapse. You've still got to stand strong under it. All those little things. Just the way that forward line is going to work going forward against the really top-end defences is still a little question mark for me. But, I mean, Dunkley was good there as well. Yeah. So all those elements, I think, are building for the Dogs, albeit against a very much weaker opposition.
He led the game, Ugle-Hagan, with 4 contested marks. So that's the upside. You look at the disposals and say, he only had 11 disposals and Norton had 10, but it's the 4 contested marks, and he's only 20.
Yeah. I'll tell you the other thing about him, though. He's got a quick rotation of the ball, and I think that's he holds his when you're that is a system of where the ball hits your foot, because it's not a platform. It's parked in the air, so you lose distance and you lose power. The other thing is, if I got time to just
quickly,
very quickly about Norton, he has to change his style, because he's getting picked off every time he runs to a pack. They know they can edge him out. He's got to be closer to the pack, or expect contact first, take the contact, and then attack the ball. He's just got to change.
We'll come back to a bit more on the Western Bulldogs, but let's head into the winners' rooms with Mitch Cleary.
They jump from 9th to 6th on the AFL table. Luke Beveridge's 100th win as an AFL coach. Guys, we'll speak to Tom Liberatore after the song. Looking forward to hearing what he has to say about his late exchange with James Sicily, and keen to see where he features in Mick and Lingy's votes. Here's the song.
So a comeback tonight and a comeback in the season. So they were 26 points down start of the second quarter against the Hawks tonight. They kicked 18 goals to 7 thereafter to win the game by 42 points. And on the season, they were 3-5 after 8 weeks. They felt like there were multiple points where the bottom could have fallen out of the year, beaten heavily in last year's grand final. And so for them to have pulled it back to now be 8-6, and it feels like there's a bit of optimism around the Bulldogs. When you think of the guys that are out, you touched on English. Bailey Smith, one of the best midfielders in the game, obviously is out for the next 3 or next 2 now. He's already served a couple of games of that ban. Doc Duray missing tonight. Vandermeer's on the injury list. And they've got 3 guys in the VFL. Bruce, a minor setback permitting. Toby McLean's back, I think, this week, and Lockie Hunter's second game back. So all of a sudden, a few familiar faces back up and running.
The knock is the Suns and the Swans are the only 2 top 8 sides they've beaten, but they play them all on the run home.
See, aren't I meant to be the pessimistic one? I'm meant to be the optimistic.
Normally, we've swapped roles.
But Corbin, you're right. The next 3 weeks, Brisbane, who, there's a question mark about Brisbane. There's a real question mark. Sydney, after last week, there's a question. You've got to have a question mark. Saints, there's always going to be a question mark. That's the next 3.
Yeah.
So
Melbourne, Geelong, Freo, GWS, Hawthorn.
They've got the hardest straw. No question. But you take, you know you can take one at a time. But let's take those next 3. They are sides that are all beatable.
Let's go into the winners' rooms. The Dogs home by 42 points. They're 6th on the premiership table. Mitch Cleary.
Here with Tom Liberatore. Tom, you jumped from 9th to 6th. How important is that win for this group?
It's extremely critical. I think at this time of year, we drop that one and we go back to 7-7. So, it keeps us in touch with the rest of the 8.
Seemed like you were involved in everything tonight. You kicked a huge goal at one stage. You had the little late exchange with James Sicily. Can you take us through what was going on out there? Because he was running around being involved in everything himself tonight.
I was just reiterating that, keep your head up, and there's always next week. So, just stay positive. I'm sure he'll say the same stuff as well. But, it was friendly banter. That's all there is to it, really.
Absolutely love that. just some of the young guys tonight. Jamara looks like he took a step forward. Riley West. How important is it that these guys get these games under their belt if you guys are going to push towards finals?
Yeah, I think it's imperative they understand how important they are to the team, how much they free up Naughty, they free up other small forwards as well, and I think they fit well in the system. How we play with an extra tool now, and I think I know Cody didn't have the best night, but he allowed Westy to get off the chain himself. So yeah, it certainly worked well, and we work cohesively.
We'll go upstairs. Corbin Middlemass, Matt Clinch, Mick Malthouse, and Cameron Ling.
Liver, well done. Fantastic game by yourself, but also a terrific win. What flipped between the first quarter and what we saw in the second and third quarters? What did you have to fix up after quarter time?
We had to just tweak a few things in the centre bounce. I think we just didn't read their hit as well enough and didn't get our hands on it first, which then followed up into the sort of contested ball game. So once we fixed that up, then we were really able to sort of critique our ball movement as well on the back of that.
It seemed like it was you who almost took it on yourself to fix up getting into their hit zone. What are you looking for? Just for almost a bit of a midfield lesson. When the big ruckman goes up and Reeves is going to get his hands on it, what are the cues that are you taking from the opposition ruckman?
I think just where they're rotating. I think where their mids are, making sure if they usually sort of stack the back a bit, and we saw that in the first quarter with them hitting back. So we just need to watch where their numbers were really.
Liver, well done. Fantastic job. Really set them well. You got them back in the game, and it's a great credit to you. And also that finished goal. It's fantastic. Just on a couple of players that, we're talking up here about the regulars like yourself and the Bont and McRae and so forth. We were pretty impressed tonight on young West, how he's matured as a player. One touch, just seems to get in the right spots. Hagen rather. That's two young players playing on the forward line, which is difficult. We thought Shaki also presented well tonight. What do you reckon?
Yeah, agree with all of that. I think particularly Westy, he's had a bit of an up and down start to the year, and he's probably put in the biggest pre-season I've seen, of any of the young blokes, and he's always doing extras. He's always first in the door. So it took a while, but the way he trained and the way he prepares week to week has been shows tonight. And certainly Jamara. Again, he's just going to keep getting better, and I think the support that Shaq provides as well, and his body work in the air, and then he's clean by foot too. So there's a big improvement tonight. Do
you feel more comfortable with Josh Bruce? With Aaron Norton, that type of setup, or are you quite comfortable that Norton by himself and the smaller players around him present enough to win big? Let's face it, your destiny's in your own hands. You're just going through it. You play first, second, third, and fourth side, seventh and eighth side, so you definitely got the hardest draw. What's the one that's going to worry the top sides the most?
As in how we
set up.
I think the complementary of tools and smalls we saw last week when Jamara came back in didn't have the biggest impact with numbers, but he allowed Naughty to sort of get off the chain as well. So I think the more sort of balanced approach with that forward line, the more effective we are.
Tom Liberatore with us on ABC Sport. Tom, it's Matt Clinch. Fourth time this season you've had over 10 clearances. You had 11 tonight, so 3 of the last 4 you've dominated in the middle of the ground. I'm just interested with the 666. How do you try and capitalise on that as best you can, especially with the centre bounce clearances?
I think we just got to keep. You sort of make sure you use your numbers out of there and drive with your legs and try and get as much territory as possible without going too far. So you've got to find that balance between blazing or lowering your odds as well.
So without giving away tactics, would you have an outlet player you try and give it to use their legs to burst away?
I think I'm the fastest bloke in the comp, so I think I'll take that.
Tom Liberatore with us on Grandstand AFL. Tom, I don't know how much of our chat you heard leading in, but obviously you had the heavy grand final loss last year. You had off-field dramas, slow start, 3 wins after 8 rounds. There was probably a lot of moments where you could think the bottom could fall out of this season, and yet it feels like now there's a lot of optimism around the Western Bulldogs. Is that what it feels like internally, that you've withstood all that, and you're right in the season in 6th spot tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I think the way it panned out, unfortunately, with a few off-field dramas at the start of the year, and a couple of losses that we should have pinched here and there. But yeah, I think the way we never lost faith and lost optimism at all. We're a pretty tight bunch off the field, and yeah, we've got a good relationship with our coaching staff as well. So I think the feedback was quite consistent and quite open throughout the whole sort of first couple of months of the year, and that sort of paid off now.
That was my next question as to how you do that. We've seen so many teams in the past where it all sort of falls in a heap. How do you sort of keep it together when these things are happening through the first couple of months of the season?
Well, yeah, obviously initially you have to stay calm, and I think you've got to be transparent with the coaches and I think the leadership group as well. Marcus does a great job with consistent meetings and getting feedback from younger players as well as older players, and making sure that everyone's heard, and it's quite a fluid understanding between feedback week to week.
Enjoy the moments, Tom. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Cheers.
Tom Liberatore in the Victorious Dogs rooms, home by 42 points. Some of the network, Lingy, are about to leave us at the top of the clock, which is about 90 seconds from now. So in front of 32,500, the Dogs home by 42 points over the Hawks. The votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year.
Marcus Bontempelli, 1 vote. I thought he was just excellent all night. 27 touches, kicked a goal, 7 tackles, excellent game, 11 inside 50s, 8 clearances. I'm giving Riley West the 2 votes, Corbs. I thought he was superb tonight. 3 goals, heaps of score involvements, and the man we just spoke to, Tom Liberatore, easily the best on ground for me. When the game was there to be won, he turned the entire game around, ended it with 30 disposals and a goal, 8 tackles, just a heap of clearances, 11 of those. He was the difference in those second and third quarters and got his team going. Brilliant game from him.
Luke Beveridge started the year, tried to move the magnets around a little bit, and he found himself on a half-forward flank. He's the number 1 clearance player since round 8.
That ground ball that he won against Jath, I'm going to record that. I'm going to show my under-10s. That is how you turn your body and protect your head and win the football. Superb.
So the Dogs victorious here tonight. They trailed by 26 points early in the second quarter. They finished well over the top to win by 42. And as a result, the Bulldogs sit 6th on the premiership table. For some of the network, that's where we leave you from Docklands. And for everybody else, what a bonus. You've still got 2 quarters of footy to come. West Coast up against Essendon. Second half action around the corner. The Eagles by 5 points at halftime there. So West Coast 9-3-57 over Essendon 7-10-52. We've got another 5 minutes here in the box.
The concern for Luke Beveridge would be against a good side, a quarter like that, first quarter against the Hawks, and you might be too far back. Or did you think you saw enough from the Dogs that if they can play like that against the better sides, they'll be able to challenge them?
I still saw what makes them good, what made them a grand final team. When they dominate the contest, when they hunt, when they're hungry around the ball, and they get good method, and they can get aggressive off the back of that with their running patterns and their ball movement. They're a good team. I worry when a team is good enough in the middle of the ground to break even with them.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about smack them. It's just break even in that area. What is their next? What's their plan B when their midfield's not dominating?
And stifle their ball movement.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the games they got, Lenny, they play Brisbane. So with Neil back there, it's relative.
Yep.
Then you look at Melbourne. Melbourne have got
excellent in the midfield.
That's right. Then Fremantle.
Very, very good in the midfield.
Cats. They'll stand up against the Cats.
Yeah, but that's the Cats' weakness is the midfield.
Sydney.
A good midfield without being great.
Yeah, they could do Sydney. And the Saints, you don't know who's going to turn up. But
Jack Steele's back though now.
I know. Well, that's true. Then they play GWS and Hawthorn. Well, that's, and again, GWS, they're no mugs. But they can go with 4 or 5 of those. But the big question is, if they do marry off 50-50 in the centre, can they stop what's happening when the opposition have got the footy? And can they kick enough goals against a good, talented backline? That's, to me, they haven't progressed from last year playing off the grand final. They need to be better than last year. I don't know whether they're better than last year.
And they came from 5th, didn't they, to get there?
Again.
So they had to go on a run through the final series.
That's right.
Super Saturday tomorrow. We always say, it's a Super Saturday footy. Tomorrow genuinely is, where you have all the top 8 teams playing one another. So Carlton up against Fremantle. The Dockers are already second on the table, but a chance to go a game clear of Brisbane and the chasing pack. That's back here at Docklands. That's our main network game. So Clinchy, you and I will be here for that. You've got the lead before then with Lingy, of course, and Mick will be on Sports Talk into WA from 10 a.m. That's Western time tomorrow. Following that, Geelong up against Richmond at the MCG. And then tomorrow night, Sydney and St Kilda. So all standalone games on what is going to be an enormous Saturday of footy. We've got the second half coming up shortly from West Coast and Essendon. It is the Eagles by 5 points at halftime. Your commentary team, Clint Weldon, Ben Cameron, Bridget Lacey on the boundary, and a couple of Mick Moldhouse disciples. So we've got Sharad Wellingham, premiership player, and Shane Woden.
Yeah, well, yeah, Shane
played under you as well, didn't he?
Oh yeah, Shane played a couple of
grand finals, or at least one.
Yes, he probably played. No, he certainly didn't play in 02.
Maybe just 03.
Yeah, may have played in 03.
I think he did.
Did he? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
I certainly didn't play in 02. No, 02, I know, 02 was, you tend to try to forget the side.
When you coach as many grand finals
so many grand finals.
You can't keep track of every team.
No, you have selected memory in wins and losses, Lingy. Did you play in 2011? I don't want to know.
As a little Essendon fan, sort of making my way to Subiaco Oval, they were always big games, West Coast and Essendon. The jacket match, when you got the chance to beat the Eagles and you're a part of the away supporter group and there's very few people and you get your jacket out and a chance to wave it over the top of your head. They were huge games, weren't they?
Sheeds got along well with the West Coast people too, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
There's a Mitchell White episode out of here.
Poor old Mitch. Mitch is the nicest bloke of all time.
He is, isn't he?
He'd be wondering, what's that mean? Does it mean I've got to wear a bow tie or something? He wouldn't know the...
They were great matches, and I mean both teams obviously at the other end of the table at the moment. But and when West Coast would win and Subiaco Oval, and you'd have the sea of jackets getting waved around after the game, and they were special fixtures.
Grand final in 2000 with Melbourne for Shane Woden, and 2003 with Mick at the Pies, not 2002.
Yeah, that's one I want to forget. But anyway, no. Shane was a very good footballer. Sharad did the jobs that we asked him to do. So, we needed that sort of player in the middle that can actually be accountable.
Who wins? West Coast, Essendon?
I saw enough from West Coast last week against the Cats. Sorry, Corbs.
Help me out.
You might be
they're in front.
Night.
They're in front. They're in front. I'm going for them. I haven't gone for them in the paper, though.
They're up by 5. 2 bonus quarters of footy to come. The second leg of the Friday night doubleheader.
New from ABC Books.
Tom Tilley, one of the best-known journalists of his generation, shares his powerful coming-of-age memoir. From a strict Pentecostal upbringing...
Our lives revolved around the church hall.
...to questioning the life created for him.
Once their whole body had been immersed, he'd start praying in the hope the convert would speak in tongues.
...to building his true self and making every moment count. Speaking in Tongues by Tom Tilley. Book and audiobook available in stores and online.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2022 AFL Premiership season. Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
And a warm welcome to our listeners right around the rest of the nation of Perth Stadium. It's been a fantastic game of footy so far. Hard to believe, 18th versus 16th. West Coast trying to drag itself off the bottom of the ladder, trying to end the longest losing streak in the club's history. They have lost their past 9. Essendon rolling into the West on the back of a big win over St Kilda. But it's the Eagles who lead at half-time.